is going to have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely.
We're at this point.
Oh,
Ain't we all though? I mean, that's just the life of a conscious male these days. You're gonna run afoul eventually.
without a doubt, it's impossible because if there's a list of 100 things that have to be done in order for her to be happy, and you do all 100, within 30 minutes there's another list, and you're hearing why life is
Right.
miserable because the list is incomplete.
Yeah.
Or there's a new thing. You know what? I never noticed that you did this thing that bothered me, but now I do notice. So even though you fix these 100 things, there'll always be something. So you just have to accept it as an integral part of the process.
Yeah. Those 100 things just cleared the way to something. You just brushed the dust off a brand new issue.
Yep. Thanks for clearing out all that debris.
Yeah, I forgot about this one. It was at the bottom of the stack. Appreciate
I
it.
I had forgotten I wanted to change that about you.
Oh, so how was the week, man?
Man, it was great, dude. Everything is lovely. Let me tell you, intermittent fasting has changed my life. Have I told you about this? Have I ran off tangentially about this?
No, no, I didn't know you started it up.
So I was definitely like always struggling to find energy. Like I try to, get my 100 push-ups in a day, and I was just always sleeping no matter how much I was sleeping. So one of the things I altered is I'm only eating for like maybe 6 to at the most 8 hours a day. So there's always at least 16 hours or more where I'm not eating anything. And I gotta tell you, I've got way more energy. You are gonna be hungry. It's not like, oh well, I do it. I'm not even hungry. No, you're gonna be hungry. But first world problem. Good. We need to
Right.
feel a little bit of hunger every now and then. Um, but way more energy. I was getting like a solid one bowel movement a day. Something was happening once a day. No need for alarm. No need to maybe look up on WebMD. Maybe I have sepsis. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm backed up. You're getting a good one a day. But when you
Started prune
give,
juice regimen.
listen, when you give the machinery a little bit of extra time to not be on duty, it works overtime. So,
Right.
I'm dropping maybe 3 to 5 bombs a day. Comfortable, healthy, full on intestinal recreations, just magnificent, magnificent mounds of waste.
That's an accomplishment.
Listen, it energy levels are up, weight's dropping, um, sleeping a little bit better. Like, and I'm speculating. I don't know anything, and um, of course, there's all of these resources available that if you ever wanted to be curious about something, you could probably look it up in a matter of moments. I don't trust anything anymore, so I'm back to like 600 BC Grecan philosophical musings. I'm just going to try to figure out on myself based upon baseless speculation. So what I'm thinking is probably because our food is just such garbage, right?
Mm.
And we're eating all day. Our body, especially if it's processed food, I got to imagine all those preservatives that keep it fresh on the shelf for like 10 years probably present some sort of challenge for your body to break it down. So the only thing I could think of, because I haven't really changed, because I eat pretty good. Like I'm not pre-diabetic or anything. I don't eat a lot of sweets. You know what I'm saying? My cholesterol and everything's pretty good. I just eat a lot. But so I didn't really change any of the habits. I still got, some bread here and there. You know what I'm saying? Lunch meats, which is, congealed meat fragments
Oh
blended
yeah.
together with 12 herbs and
Yeah.
spices. But it's processing beautifully. It's in and it's out. And
Right.
I can just attribute it to the fact that we're not poisoning ourselves all day, every day, and overwhelming your body with such a monumental task of processing it all that it can free up some of that extra energy.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased. I'm getting so much accomplished,
That's
so much
awesome.
more accomplished than I've been previously getting done. So I'm excited, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I looked into it. I did it for a while, maybe sometime in the middle of last year, and then eventually, whatever it was that threw it off, I kind of moved away from it. I still keep it in mind. I'm not as diligent as I was about it before, but I definitely realized that the late night eating is an issue. It's a major issue. But it's like when you doing so much during the day and you finally cool off at night, that's when you want to, like, sit down, have your meal, relax.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to reprogram that whole shit. You got to have your last meal at like 5 o'clock or something like that, 4:30 in the afternoon, and that's it for the rest of the day.
Well, even if you eat late, like let's say you eat, like 10:30, 11 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? Just hold off until like 2 or 3 p.m. the next day.
Right.
I don't think, I mean, I don't know. For me, it works a little bit better if I ease up later in the day and have a cutoff in the day earlier. But I've done it to where I've eaten late and then just waited till like 2 or 3 the next day. And I've gotten the same result. So now I'm like at a point where it's like, do you really want to feel tired and lethargic like a piece of shit? Like that enters into my mind now where it's like, yes, I'm hungry. Yes, I want to just go ahead and get this DoorDash delivered at 11 p.m. and just snack on something. I'm just in the mood for it. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm at that age where there's going to be a price to pay, and it's just like saving money. Like, yeah, I could blow this money on this dumb shit, but I'd much rather allocate that resource towards a bigger goal. So that's why I'm going to forego it. So it's easier when there's that immediate punishment. Like if I wasn't getting so punished on the back end with lack of energy, it'd probably be a lot easier just to continue, with bad eating habits. But now, my body's like, nope, nope. We're only
Yeah.
processing food during business hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And if you violate, there will be immediate repercussions.
Yeah, dude, you're locking in them circadian rhythms, bro. That's that metaphysical shit. That's real shit. It definitely helps. Like I said, I did a bunch of research on it before, and there's a little bit of conflict, but for the most part, everybody says the same thing. It's just you put your body into this, starvation mode almost, and it starts cleaning house. Like you said, it just starts fucking doing extra since it's in that starvation mode for a certain amount of hours every day. Autophage, I think it's called. It starts to destroy all the bad cells and process shit, and give you a boost in all of your what is it? I can't even remember the name of it right now. Oh, the immune system. You get an immune system boost after, like, I think it's about between 12 and 16 hours. So that's just definitely powerful. Something that a mechanic that you can employ. That's just valuable for sure.
Yeah, I used to be very, very disciplined, and then I went through a very long period of depression where I just said, "Fuck it. What's the point of being disciplined? What's the point of knowing everything? Nobody's asking you. What's the point of being super healthy? You're gonna die. Who cares?" So it's just taking the most like drastic negative outlook on anything beneficial. And I think maybe it was a good thing to go through because now I see like there was all of these benefits as far as time, energy, lack of aches and pains that being disciplined provided to me. That going a few years without it, and being on the other end of the spectrum, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that I really took for granted all of those benefits. So it was definitely eye opening and motivating, um, to start trying to get back in some sort of routine, even reading more. I got spoiled by this. I want my robots to read to me shit and just listening to books on tape. There's just something about looking at the words and ingesting the information that
Yeah.
way that it just resonates more. You connect with the information more. And I almost feel like it's like listening to an audiobook is like asking somebody to lift weights for you. Like there's some energy being expended, and you might even get some motivation, but like the level of retention in sitting there and looking at, even in like I feel like in how it organizes your mind, like as far as how quick you are, you know what I mean, and how I noticed myself being like more articulate. Like I use Sisyphean in a sentence, just randomly. I didn't plan it. It wasn't calculated pompousness. It was just, I'm going to describe this situation. This is Sisyphean. And it just can't. I like, okay, that was gone for a little while. I'm going to attribute it to one part of intermittent fasting and another part of getting back into the habit of actually sitting down and reading books instead of just having the robots read to me. So
Nice.
there's just something about that. And I don't know, man. Maybe all of these conveniences are kind of bad for us. And maybe that ease of access to food is like the first step of conquering nature and imposing human will on the system in such a way that we really maximize the benefit that we could get without exerting that much work. So probably the reason why it seems to be so effective is you're supposed to be hunting and gathering for 16 hours a day. You're
Right.
not supposed to be sitting around eating every hour for the 16 to 18 hours that you're awake. Like the body was never made to be able to procure food that efficiently, that consistently. It was supposed to be like your day's work and you come back with the food. So as soon as we were able to be like, yo, we can store it, we can riddle it with salt, we can cure it, we can do whatever so that it can sit on the shelf for 1,000 years. It can survive nuclear fallout and the Twinkie is still tasty. We'll make food that way and we'll have access to it constantly. And yeah, it seems really cool. Like, man, I don't even got to get up. I got a swivel chair with wheels on it. I could sit my ass down and just kind of push just a little bit to roll into the refrigerator and eat whatever I want whenever I want. And the fallout is your body just says, "Nah, we can't do this, son. It's too much. It's too much. We need to make you sleepy all the time because we got
Yeah.
to use all this energy to break down all this food that we weren't supposed to be getting this food for another 16 hours. How the fuck did you kill another animal so quickly?"
What the hell is going on out there? Yeah, that's real shit. I definitely feel that. What you were saying about the reading is real shit too, because I noticed that when I'm reading actual books, I tend to go back over information more often. Like if I'm reading something and I read through a specific clip of it, sometime I'll just be like, hold on, let me get that again. And I'll go back a few sentences and read it over. I think that happens a lot while I'm reading actual books, but I don't think I've ever done it with listening to an audiobook. I don't think I've ever really like stopped it and brought it back. You listen, sometimes you zone in and out because you start thinking about other shit.
Yep.
But I don't even, I don't even really pay any attention. I just let it keep playing. But when I'm actually reading a book, I definitely double back over information pretty often. So I can see how that would, definitely work to get it more ingrained into your thought process and your whole recall and everything like that. I definitely get that.
It
It's
definitely makes your
important.
mind sharper.
Yeah,
For
for sure.
sure. So I'm back into reading. Um One of the boys ended up moving out, so I took over his room and I converted it into my little studio because I didn't have enough room um in our room. So I got to set up all of my shit. I made my little man cave or whatever. It's a child. There's a child that lives in this room. It's just video game paraphernalia and chessboards and video game systems and music and recording equipment. So that's why I was up to like 6 in the morning working on that beat, man. And I was
That's
like,
just
man,
fire.
I haven't worked on music in a little bit. And I realized that my absolute favorite music, 'cause that's another thing too. I think these are all key things that if it's going on in your life, your soul is probably wasting away. You're dying inside and you don't even realize it. Um, I really hadn't been listening to music like for years, like not listening to anything, and it's pretty ritualistic on my end that I'll be listening to music when I drive.
Right.
Typically if I'm working out or walking, I'll listen to a podcast or audio book, but in the car. But I've just been tuned in to the political drama and the drama of the citizenry at large. And I had been listening to music, and I went back and I listened to some other albums, and I realized like if there's something that's kind of dying in you if you're not routinely listening to music. There's something about your mind state and the frequency that you're on and your happiness level. There's just something about it
Yeah.
that I don't know. I can't explain. I haven't fully figured it out. I'm sure somebody knows all the science on it out there. I don't, but I just noticed for me that when I'm way more wound up and way more I don't want to say straight edge, but just like high stress, like high strung, if I'm not listening to music. And definitely want to shout out Soul P because he just had a baby, a little baby
Dope.
boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
congratulations, congratulations.
Big
And
love.
he wanted to be on one of the episodes down the line. I told him definitely, just let me know when. He wanted me to send him the topics ahead of time, and I had nothing. It's just topics.
Yeah,
We'll,
just go
we'll
to
yeah.
go to Wikipedia and hit random article 5 times and send them all those links.
Yeah, there you go. This may or may not what'll be because
Yeah.
we literally do zero prep, and maybe that'll change eventually. Maybe it'll tighten up in the future, but for now, it is what it is. But
But I know why we don't do prep. Like I came across this, I had this conversation with my lady a couple days ago, and I think for the most part, it's just that the shit that would generate a lot of talking back and forth, possibly views or whatever you want to call it, I just don't be caring about that shit enough to like hold on to it and prepare something and
yeah,
do, and then we talk about it. It's like I don't by that I don't even give a shit anymore. I watch a video, I see somebody do something stupid, I go look at this fucking goofball and I scroll and I'm done. I'm done. I can't make a 15-minute video about how this guy's a goofball. Like I don't care anymore once it's over. So prep first, that kind of shit. Sometimes, when we talk and we politic, shit just comes up. It's like, oh yeah, I saw this thing the other day and talk about that. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to really, really do prep unless it's about something important. Definitely. If it's something really important that we want to get out, that we want to lay some groundwork for, then absolutely. But just with current events and shit, it is what it is. You just
well,
get what you get.
what it is well, first of all, there's already enough people doing that. I mean, the internet is littered with people who have dedicated themselves to taking a policy position or a position culturally or politically that they want to champion, and they're invariably agitated at all times, and that's where they're mining, I guess, their inspiration, and that's not a good place to be. I find for most people, I can just speak for myself personally, but I tend to see that when people are in that spot, like I was saying, you're more high strung, you're more on edge. If your fuel is agitation, I mean, like you have to, you're getting inspired by looking for things that are going to provoke negative emotions in you, and it just seems like a bad system for inspiration. So what I could definitely say that I admire in you, that you've been really consistent on, is your hate reflexes. You've allowed them to atrophy down to nothing. Like there's nothing like, yeah, I want to be outraged. There's nothing. I
Yeah.
got nothing,
I
and
can't.
that's a good place to be.
It
That's
is.
a
It
really
feels
good place
good.
to be.
It feels good. I can't front because I know what it's like. Because I still, of course, in the moment, you feel the grab on the gravity of certain topics and shit like that. And it could, it might linger for 4 or 5 minutes, on a bad day. 4 or 5 minutes is like, oh, I got something to say about this, but it'll never make it to podcast day. It'll never make it, like, unless I saw it earlier on the day we were actually going to record, it probably won't make
Right.
it. I just let it go. Yeah, it's just the benefit of not really being attached to any of this shit. Even if I do have a differing opinion of it, I don't care enough to change other people's minds. Also, so like, if I have a absolutely stark different opinion of whatever I'm looking at, whatever's going on, I'll hold that. I'll kick it around in my head. Could I possibly be wrong about this? Am I the jerk? No, they're jerks. Okay, I'm good. Done. Simple mathematics, yo. I'm not gonna get stressed out and just get pulled into that bullshit because I see it happening everywhere. Whether it's Twitter, Twitter's the worst. I know I've said several times throughout our conversations, but Twitter's a toilet. It really is. It really is. But some of the worst shit I see there, and then Facebook also a lot of passive aggressive, and people hop in right on it. They have to, you know. I mean, this is what it's for. Let's be honest. This is what social media is for at this point. For people to monetize their viewership and start arguments.
And we're still talking about it as if we're only beginning to tap its potentiality. People are still, people will be able to connect like never before, and they'll start cultivating all of these new ideas and all this. No, it's been out long enough that we know it's appealing to the most base of human instincts.
Right.
So people are trained to find the negative. 100 things are going right in your life, but you saw one thing that was negative. You saw a whole immaculate clean sheet of paper. You saw one little dot on it, and you can't think about anything else other than that dot. And it's all in the tone of snark and hate and vitriol. And that's what it's for, because that's what people respond to the most. And if you're talking about getting people's attention, it's a lot harder of a work to complete, and also monetarily it's proven at this point it's going to be less rewarding. So why would anyone really be inclined to try to make thoughtful things that just is not going to be a part of the algorithm, like taking on the tone that gets the most response? I mean, even in journalism, that's how everything's framed now. Like, they figured it out, they led the way. Once they figured out how they were going to get people's attention by obsessing with the negative in a way that it seems, as much as maybe that's been done in the past, it definitely seems like they were able to turn cane sugar into straight up cocaine sugar that we have now. It's
Yeah.
refined. They've made it super potent, and that's the energy. But what I was saying is about Soul P. I forget when it was. It was probably like around 18, maybe even 20 years ago. It was a while ago. Um, he introduced me to two albums, and he's always good for that. He put me on to like Donald Byrd. He put me on to all these great, like, just incredible old school funky ass music. But when he let me hear two Barrington Levy records, Englishman and Robin
Mm,
Hood. And I
mm.
had, at that point in my life, I had never heard anything like it. Like, I heard like dance hall stuff, like from the '90s. You know what I'm saying? Murder She Wrote and Buju
Yeah,
Banton
yeah,
and all that
yeah.
stuff. But I had never heard like old school roots reggae, like with that Lee Scratch Perry. The
Yeah.
reverb just goes on into the distance forever. Super hard drums, super thick bass lines, and I'm like, you know what? This is the greatest music ever created. by far, out of all the shit. Like, I even realized, like, all the shit that I like about hip hop, reggae did it first.
Right.
Reggae, like, they're not gonna tell you, but you figure out one day, like, oh shit, um that Fever song is the same exact beat as Lick the Pipe Peter. It's the same beat. I just
Right.
noticed it, but they put a little remix touches on top of it, but it's the exact same beat. Okay, that shit's dope. It's two different songs, but you want to know, like, there's the same bass line and drum pattern in the background if you're really listening. But there's nothing to me that sounds doper than that, like, mysterious, you're somewhere in Ethiopia or maybe
Mm.
somewhere in outer space, you can't tell. It's just like when you close your eyes, it's just dark. It's just dark, deep bass and some mysterious little lingering sounds in the background. That is just hands down my favorite shit. And from there, I
Yeah.
started getting on to like um, Willie Williams and Max Romeo and
Mm.
Yabby U and just all your Gregory Isaacs. I was just like, yo, this era. And then I get into the '80s. I'm like, I don't like it as much. Even if I
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
artist, you know what I'm saying? I like, okay, I liked you in the late '60s up until even the early '80s. But once you got like full '80s, it wasn't as interesting to me.
Right.
But
That probably happened all across the board with,
absolutely.
yeah, from 60s to 70s to 80s break and everything. But yeah, I think reggae music might be the best music on the planet.
I can't disagree.
It might be. I mean, just the whole energy of it, the universal vibration that it has, no matter where you from on the planet. It's folk music, first and foremost. That's what it is. It's folk music. So I have a sort of an affinity for all different types of folk music. There's just a different energy in that shit when you listen to it. It comes from a different place. It speaks to different ideologies than just pop music. Pop music is fun, but that's different than listening to some roots reggae. That's shaman music. You know what I'm saying? That's ceremony
Yeah.
music. And no matter what you are into in life, you play this music in a quiet setting, you put some reggae music on. I think 99% of the time it's going to take people to the same place. No matter if whether you heard it or not, where you from, what your lifestyle is, you put this music on, I think you know how to carry yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's spiritual vibration in that music, bro. I think it's probably the best music on the planet.
Yeah, I can't disagree. And once I got introduced to it, like I went on this, I gotta dig through everything, I gotta find through everything phase. And I got a lot of good albums, which I remembered as I have all this energy now. I'm like, oh shit, I need to back a lot of these up on my hard drives. Like I'm so ridiculous about the music. Like I don't trust that my hard drive is gonna save forever. So I gotta burn CDs, and they're all paid for. I bought them, not stolen. I didn't pirate anything, but just because I like to have the backup copy in case one of the hard drives take a shit. It's never happened, but if it did happen and I lost all my music, I would be pissed. So I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? Let me just go ahead and get some hard copies so I don't have to ever ever even be in danger of such a tragedy. But it is. It's folk music. It's shaman like just vibes to it. You know, even if they're talking about something frivolous, it's just the energy about it. And like I said, it's that that high watermark of late '60s all the way up even to like the early '80s. Like that period is just it's there's I haven't found anything that's whack from that era. Like
Yeah.
nothing. Even stuff that's not as good, I'm like, yeah, that's still dope as fuck. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
everything is just it doesn't even the stuff that was being sold as um like pop versions of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like you hear they didn't really have a lot of patois in their voice. You know what I mean? You could
Right.
tell that they were trying to shape it for a wider audience. Even that shit is magnificent. In
It
that
is.
era, yeah,
It is, bro. I can't. I have no disagreement whatsoever. It's just something different. And I mean, I've had moments with shit like bluegrass music. I've had moments where I was home by myself one day, and I smoked a spliff, and I don't know what I think this is back when I was on the Roku or something, but I was flipping around in different places, these live streaming channels, and I found
hmm
a fucking bluegrass concert. And I sat through like an hour and a half of that shit. I didn't before I knew it, the credits was rolling, and it's like the end of it was a live show, like one of those outdoor events, and it was a
yeah.
bunch of different bands came up. And before I knew it, the credits was rolling, the show was over. I was like, holy shit, I just sat here and watched a whole bluegrass concert. I didn't know who nobody was, never heard none of these songs before, but the shit was fire. Fire, just the energy of it, man. It's just that mountain people music, village people music, beach people music. It's
Yep.
just different. They're disconnected from there's parts of society that most of us are entrenched in. They're just coming from a whole different tonality. That shit is special. I mean, that's pretty much all I listen to now. Hip hop, I mean, I still love a lot of shit, and if I need a fix, I know what I can go listen to, and I might listen to some new people or something like that. But for the most part, if I'm just in the mood to listen to music, it's reggae like 100% of the time. It just matches the vibration that I'm trying to embody right now. And when I mean there is some hip hop if you look for it and you curate it the right way, but most, even your favorite hip hop is fucking mostly knucklehead shit.
Oh
Mostly.
yeah. I
It's
listened to
just
I put in I revisited Monkey Bars over the weekend.
oh yeah.
Uh
Of course,
which
exactly.
right. And it's
Exactly.
indefensible. Yeah, indefensible. And I even noticed too, like it's something that happens with all artists. What I noticed is if you're gonna have longevity, there's a trajectory. Like there's the first couple of attempts where it's not as crystallized. Like you don't they don't like fully have their style down pat just yet. You know what I mean? Like the way that they flow, the way that they inflect their voice or where they're landing, like they haven't like fully crystallized their signature or their logo, like on how they approach a beat. And I find like those are the albums that I tend to love the most. You know, where it's not fully developed, but there's still something magical and new about it. But like on that Monkey Bars album, that's when Sean Price like got into like a formula. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
P.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just like and I don't like him as much as I liked him on the Helter Skelter album. I just don't. But I can acknowledge that this is a superior product overall.
Right.
Like the production quality, as far as there is something to be said about when you get into that kind of formulaic type of thing where you kind of just sound how you sound on the record and that's how you're always going to sound. There's something more polished about it. Like he
Right.
sounds more polished, he sounds more in his element, and it feels like a more unique product. But I was like, I still like the Helter Skelter album better. Me,
Yeah.
I'm just an old '90s elitist. Like I can recognize this is good. I can even recognize that some of the beats are just phenomenally more banging than on that album. But I would just rather listen to Operation Lockdown. I just
Yeah.
rather do it.
Sean Price, I feel like the amazing thing with him was that he devolved and still became like he still ended up on a higher plane, a higher plateau,
He
which
became
is
more
weird.
popular.
Right, which is weird because lyric like as far as his whole MC persona, he devolved. But in his de-evolution, he became better, which is weird. But he was super lyrical, super nice. He was like you said, he was in his flow element. You could tell he was rapping, he was barking on MCs and shit. But his whole like energy about it was like it was effortless. Like we playing around. This is fucking judo class. We're just doing flips,
Right.
showing off. You know what I'm saying? And that's how he rhymes on that whole Operation Lockdown joint. He's just I mean, Helter Skelter, the first, yeah, he's just all over the place doing what he wants to do. Later on, he became less lyrical, but for somehow he just said, "Fuck it, I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna rap about punching y'all in the face.
Yeah. and
I'm
it,
just gonna rap about how I'll beat all y'all up, and I'll throw some bars in between and shit." But and it just became more popular. I think I saw somebody post the other day. I think it was a article from I don't know if it was OK Player, but something, one of these big hip hop sites, and it said that Sean Price birthed the struggle rapper. He birthed the identity of what's now known as the struggle rapper, the people who rap about not having nothing and like all of it. He was the one who started that shit. He
Yeah,
didn't
he
give a
might have
shit.
popularized it. The people rapping about not having shit is a pretty it predates Sean Price. But
Yeah,
maybe they're crediting him as like popularizing it in the mainstream.
yeah, like the
Listen,
new school struggle rapper.
listen, when he said everybody gets sprayed, uh everybody's my maid, everybody has AIDS. I'm like, okay, he doesn't care. He just
Yeah,
doesn't care. He just yes, Sean, it all rhymes. I get
yeah,
it, but I'm not sure. So everybody's getting shot, everybody has AIDS, and you're putting everybody to work like they're your maid. Okay, all
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
You
he don't
know,
give a fuck, bro. Sean Price, not, yeah, but he's super dope. No matter where you listen to him throughout his whole catalog,
yeah.
he changed a lot. But no matter where you listen to him, he's dope. He's one of the few people. Like I have the highest tolerance for violent rap coming from Sean Price.
Well,
The highest tolerance.
he became a more violent, less thoughtful Redman on the back end of his
Yeah,
career.
kinda.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that for sure.
Like
Yeah,
Redman was way more clever in his punchlines. Sean Price is like, maybe one out of once every 216s, I'll hit you with like a coherent, thoughtful punchline, and I'll ride the fuel from that to get through the rest of the verse. And just it
yeah,
wasn't anything like a lot of the stuff was just basic cookie cutter stuff. But as far as like and again compared to what he did previously,
yeah.
but again, if he was getting paid off of it, it was selling more records. I'm not mad. I'm not gonna be like, yo, keep making records like you used to make just for me, so I could be the only guy that buys it. Like, look,
Yeah,
do what
he
you
was
got to
still
do.
having fun. He's doing what he got to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I ain't mad at him. He gave us a lot of really dope shit. And like I said,
for sure.
I can't listen to that shit from a lot of other people. And maybe it is the nostalgia with him. You know what I'm saying? Because I did go through the whole boot camp thing and listening to him over all of those years and then what he became later on. Maybe it's the nostalgia or maybe it's that the shit was just dope. But if it's like MOP or something like that, it's like it gets really old really fast for me. I can't
Yeah.
listen to 2, 3 songs in a row of the same shit. Like it's too much. But yeah, I get in those moods where all I want to hear is Sean Price threaten motherfuckers for a couple hours. I'll just let that play. Planet of the Apes, blam the cannon in your face type shit. Yeah, that's super nice, bro. If you're gonna listen to violent hip hop, let it be Sean Price. Period. That's just a proclamation.
But it's also a kind of thing, and because I feel the same way about MOP as I do about Sean Price. Like, I wouldn't, I don't really care for, like, even like I can go back and say like Doggy Style and The Chronic, it are like two of the greatest albums ever. Like, as far as sonically, how they, like, whatever Dre was doing at that period, like in at that moment, like fresh off NWA and before, it started aftermath, kind of became formulaic with his style of production. So like he throws a beat to Raekwon for Cuban Links 2, and you're like, nah, this ain't magic. This ain't magic. But the Doggy Style and the Chronic albums is magic sonically.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. But I listen to the music and I can't do it. Same thing with Cube. Like, I feel a little bit better. Like, I can listen to Cube if he's just
Um,
hating white people. I can
that
I
Bomb
can do
Squad
that.
production.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that more than if it's just like thuggery, just
Right.
nonstop thuggery. It's like,
That's kind of
uh,
racist, but I get it. I get it. I'd rather hear Gorillas in the Mist than a lot of other Ice Cube shit. Like that may not even be the best of his shit, but it's like the stuff that seems to have a point, a overall point. At least it's some type of guided, directed violence instead of just random,
yes,
blow
right.
somebody's head. You know what I mean? So that makes sense. Even if it is, controversial, but I'd rather hear that for sure.
It may be controversial, but I always argue too, like, wouldn't you much rather him, like, he's not literally going out and killing white people. Like,
Right.
doesn't this make more sense that he's expressing it through song? So this is the happy median of negotiating. Thank God for free speech. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to live in a world where Ice Cube can't make songs about killing white people, and then it just bubbles over and he actually has to just, take those additional steps to walk into a crowded area.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, we
So
don't need none of that. We don't need
yeah,
that.
in the song form, I can absolutely say, just like I would say, some of the things that MOP or Sean Price are saying are absolutely heinous, right? But there's artistic merit. Like, they still feel like hip hop dudes to me. You know what I mean? Like, they have a love for the craft, they have a love for, the music itself, and they do sprinkle in punchlines. And anybody, Premier was at the top of his game when he was working with MOP. So anything that MOP did and it was heavy with Premier production, it's a good sounding album. But that's the threshold for me, because they're coming from it like hip hop dudes. Let me be clever, let me have punchlines. Yes, my bravado is exclusively in the realm of violence, but it's still some sort of MC and bravado. When I go back to listen to Doggy Style and Dre, I can't find on the Chronic, or even when I try to listen to Easy E, I could be like, man, I remember you really really liking this. But now I'm just like, yo, this is indefensible. I just
Yeah,
can't. I
yeah.
just can't. I can't vibe with it. I could even listen to it and be like, wow, like, this beat for the shiznit is fucking incredible. Like, and he brings the flute in, and then the humming da 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 da. These arrangements are genius, but the
Yeah.
subject matter is just like, you take me out of it. Like, I almost wish it was in a different language. Like, if you got
You
some dude spitting Creole on there and I couldn't understand what he was talking about.
for
Like,
a
I need a
while at least.
translator
Yeah,
for
that might help
it.
for a little while. but I think especially when it comes to Dre and Snoop, with everything they was doing together. Last night I just listened to. I watched a whole live concert of Parliament Funkadelic
Oh
from like
wow.
'75, and that's why we love that early Dre shit so much. Is
Yep.
because he tapped into that Funkadelic era that a lot of us had grew up on. We heard, in the background of our childhoods and shit. We might not have been super duper familiar with it, but I think it's just spoke to something that was deep in that generation's psyche. I mean, it's just dope music, period. But I think that there's a little bit extra in there because it was such a significant sound that he tapped into, and it's not just like like a lot of hip hop you could just say is a quote unquote 70s sound. You know what I'm saying? When you
Yep.
think about the classic shit, it's a 70s sound. He wasn't sampling a 70s sound. He was sampling P Funk,
Yep.
specifically Parliament, P Funk. And that's why it was all so cohesive. It all made so much sense. It was so much of it. And you wouldn't, I think the average person would have no idea how much of that shit is lifted directly, not just influenced by, but lifted
Oh
directly
no.
from, yeah,
The loops, and he found like for that "Take Me Down to Jerry Down" and
yeah,
"Let Me
yeah,
Ride." You listen
yeah.
to the whole song,
It's the
and
whole
then there's
shit,
that
yeah.
one part at the end where the whole vibe of the song changes, and he got the best 4 seconds of that song for a hip hop beat. And that's what I used to love about RZA too. RZA would find the best 4 to 7 seconds on the entire album. Like for that verbal intercourse, I forget. I think it's a song by the Emotions, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I don't remember. But when you listen to it, the original song, he just gets a little bit in. And when you hear the way he laid it down, the breath of them speaking like lands with the snare. But what if he like it was just incredible. But he just found the best sounding weird sound loop that he could find and just sprinkled a little. He never did too much on his first beats. He'd find the best loop. He may add a drum, like on some of them Al Green loops that he took. He didn't even do shit. He's like,
Yep.
nope, there it is. It's an Al Green loop, and that's it. But it was perfect. It worked. But yeah, those P Funk songs, because I don't know how many times he used those atomic dog drums, like for
Yeah.
a lot of his beats. But yeah, it was that sound, and there was that one song that they sampled for Hey and Millie pulled a pistol on Santa. Um,
Yeah.
Stay, I think is the name of the song. That I don't know how, like there was something weird that was with the hi-hats, like they were in like a different, like they were in almost in a different key or something. I know it sounds weird because they're hi-hats, they don't have a key, but it was something like they sounded like they were descending. Like it was
Hmm.
just such an ill way that the drums were laid down, like just little, like they yeah, they were on some genius shit for that vibe. And just like Bob James and I forget the name of that other dude, but Artifact sampled him for "Come On with the Come On, Get Down with the Get Down." I forget the name of the dude, but everybody took, like Jay Dilla sampled him. A lot of people sampled him. I forget his name, but there was like a couple of iconic people that if you were on the East Coast, you were sampling them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Jazzy, where it was more jazz influence, like the West Coast ran with those. And again, same era, like you're somewhere in the 70s, but but a different pocket of genius that was just more conducive to the sound that they were crafting over there. Like even that for Nothing But a G thing.
Right.
I forget what but yeah, it's just a loop. And yeah, it's not P Funk, but it's kind of baby P Funk. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like you
Right.
could tell, like you're not in the band, but you were definitely influenced. Like the
Yeah.
vibe you were making was in that vein.
Yeah, that's how he kept everything so cohesive. He stuck to the same shit. He wasn't sampling all over the place. He knew exactly what he wanted to capture and bring back. I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he actually brought George Clinton in. He didn't just sample a lot of his stuff. He had him in the studio for some sessions. I remember watching this little mini documentary about, I think it might have been one of the episodes of the Oh no, it was a little documentary about Parliament, and they were interviewing George Clinton about when hip hop first started sampling him, and he was saying he was surprised at how many people actually reached out to him instead of just taking the records and trying to flip them or do whatever. They actually reached out to him. They wanted him to be a part of the whole process, and I was like, "Yep, that's fucking intelligent right there, bro. You get the
Yep.
Godfather right in there with you, plug him right in." You know what I'm saying? He knows exactly what you're trying to get from him. But they were watching that show, man. And I mean, we already know it's fucking Parliament, it's P-Funk. We know what the deal is, but to see them in their prime in the '70s, live show, just kill it for an hour and a half straight. The shit
Yeah.
was amazing, bro, and it was all high as fuck. They was all high as fuck, getting busy, which kind of it makes it even more technical if you think about it. Because I mean, I can't say for sure that they were all ripped, but just watching the show, I felt like they were feeling really nice and they were having a lot of fun. It just didn't feel or look like a very staged, meticulous band performing a set list of songs. I feel like they was just rocking out. I'm sure they knew what songs they were gonna do. They were all singing together. They knew what they were doing, but it just felt so like impromptu, like there was such a freestyle energy to it. That shit was amazing, bro. Amazing. And not to mention the clothes they was wearing and the mothership on stage and shit. Can you even imagine? I don't think anybody had ever seen black people do no shit like that back then. Like this dude's wearing wigs and fucking crazy boots, and they got
Yeah.
a flying space saucer on stage. That shit was
Sometimes he was
absolutely
wearing like
amazing.
nothing but a diaper.
Yeah, yeah, the main
Yeah.
one of the main dudes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have a diaper on.
Yeah, he's
That's
just
it.
rocking a diaper and a dope ass beanie with the ill vocals, playing the guitar, just killing it. And you're like, how are they this aloof but that dope at the same time? Shit don't make no sense, bro. When you watch it, and I was tripping too, so it was that. So I felt like I was plugged right in. That's probably how I was able to really lock in and watch the whole shit the way it was. It was almost like being there, tripping and watching Parliament perform live. That shit was absolutely amazing, bro. They were magic for real. The whole Afrofuturism energy and Sun Ra being around the same time, and that was some special shit, man. That was
Yeah,
some
they
special
were
shit.
masters of their craft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure all they did was do drugs, fuck groupies, and play music. Like there wasn't much time to do anything else. Like let's get his incredible. And the sad thing, like, and I know culture evolves and things change, and there's financial pressures, and so the music industry has changed its kind of approach to how it packages a lot of these artists. But yeah, because of those financial constraints and how they're maximizing their profit by getting something that's maybe packaged a little bit differently, like you can go see some extravagant shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I had to take my girl to a Rihanna concert one time, and it's just pyrotechnics. There's giant bubbles, people in bubbles. There's a catwalk that goes over the whole audience, and she's like it's very elaborate. There's a lot of stuff, and I'm sure it's expensive to throw that up. That's why the tickets were fucking hundreds of dollars. But it's not someone who's just so incredible at their music, and someone who's just, because I'm sure some of it, like there's not a band playing, there's backup tracks, there's probably some vocal help out underneath her singing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
there,
yeah.
there it's not people who are just so incredibly good that they can basically just go out there and reproduce everything that you heard on the record effortlessly in real time, and are not necessarily wearing costumes because it's a part of this pageantry, that they really want to convey that you're a part of an experience. Is like, really, I was high as fuck, and I thought this shit would be a great way to express myself. I need
Yeah.
one pink dreadlock.
Right.
It came into my head. That's what I want, and I'm gonna have some pink glasses to match it. That's how I'm gonna. There was just I don't want to say authenticity, but that's the only way it really comes in my head to articulate it. Like it just it doesn't feel as contrived and packaged. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that dude's in a diaper. I don't think because an executive sat him down and said, "Listen, you're really great at playing the bass, but you know it'd be awesome. What if you did it in a diaper? Like, wouldn't that be outrageous? Like, it'll really help us get some clicks and some attention, or help us sell this music." Like, they just made incredible music, and it just so happened that they dressed like maniacs. Like, that was just the
Right.
vibe and the shit that they were on, and it was just like sincerely dope. Not trying to be dope, not trying to package itself to be dope. It just so happened that this is the shit that we're on. We're sharing it as raw as possible, and that's why it comes across so natural and so effortlessly. And it just so happens that we dress extremely eccentric. It's just all a part of our dopeness, and it just happens to be dope when it gets across to you. you know
Yeah. It's just pretty fucking amazing. It's pretty fucking
Absolutely.
amazing. It's some of the realest shit I've ever seen. And like you said, it doesn't feel contrived at all. As glamorous and over the top as it is, it really does feel like that's just what they put on that day. Because that's what they felt like rocking out in. And you gotta love that shit, man. You gotta to see people who are able to embody both spaces at the same time. Because I've seen really dope bands put on good shows and play good music,
Yeah.
but it's a I don't know. There's just like when you locked into the music, it can still sound awesome and it can be a dope experience, but it's not the same as just having musicians just jam out and have the time of their life on stage. That's just, I don't know. It's just something special about what those cats was doing. And I think it's starting to kind of show itself again now in certain spaces. I'm just starting to see artists and groups that are just super left and not trying to do anything. I mean, they might be, they decided where they wanted to be, of course, but I feel like they're not trying to do anything to get discovered or be grouped into what everybody else is doing. You could just see them going totally on their own shit. And most of them are talking about some space and metaphysics again. So I feel like that tech futurism shit is making its way back into art again. That's a good place to be. I heard of this a hip hop group, two females. It's called Oshun,
Hmm.
and they make some super dope shit. Dope vibe, good music, dope lyrics and shit. And it's totally like they remind me of like some. It's almost like a younger, more playful, like Erica Badu kind of energy.
Mm.
They're younger, and you could tell they're just having fun making music, but the energy underneath it all is locked in. It's something next level. It's super dope. Definitely check them out if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, I did. My friend of mine just told me about. He's into like Reiki and meditation and all of that. And he told me about some group called, I think it's called Earth Gang.
Oh yeah, they're dope. Super
Yeah,
dope. Yeah.
yeah. He said they're like affiliated with like J Cole in some way or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah, they're on that Dreamville
Yeah,
label. They've done a bunch of shit with them. Yeah, Earth Gang is dope, bro. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just that energy coming in of young people who are doing their own shit. They into the medicine, they deep into the spirituality. And even with people who are that you wouldn't think, like there's a dude named Ab Soul who's super nice. And he's like he raps about Aleister Crowley and shit like that a lot. So he freaks people out. But even that, but he's not positioning himself as like no Andre 3000 type spaced out. He's just like,
right.
yo, I'm a dude. I'm out here in Cali, and this is the shit I be thinking about. He said it. I was listening. He said in one of his songs, he said, "What the fuck I'm doing talking about pineal glands." And I was like, yeah, exactly. That's probably what people are saying listening to this shit. So that's the type of vibe it's on. But yeah, man, it's definitely showing itself. I'm happy too, man. I'm happy. That's the energy we need. We need to start stretching brains out again, stretching the minds out again. I think it's getting a little bit too down into that spiral of destructive drug induced shit. You know what I'm saying? Like destructive drug induced. It's not even creating creativity and upfulness. The shit they're just killing themselves drinking fucking cough syrup and shit like that. I mean, I'm sure they're having a great time, but you know, it
Oh
doesn't
no,
seem like a whole lot of expansion is happening psychologically or spiritually.
dude,
It
we're in
don't.
peak '80s.
Oh, is that what it is? Right, right.
When you want to talk about like what how was everything so dope in the 70s but such shit in the 80s? Cocaine. Cocaine, money, and decadence. Not to say that there wasn't cocaine, I mean, you had disco in the 70s. Yeah, cocaine was there, but it wasn't the main event. Like people were doing acid, people were smoking weed, and the music was more thoughtful and it was in that vibe. Like just like they call it wines and spirits. You know, you're gonna have a different spirit about you if you drink some Bud Light versus if you drink some vodka versus if you drink some Hennessy.
Yeah.
Different liquors have different. So when they call them spirits, I don't think they were playing around. I think they kind of figured out like, yeah, there's certain shit that we distill, you get a different reaction out of people, and there's different drug cultures that emerge, and I kind of blame Eminem for making pills cool. Like when I was a kid, pills were whack. Like there was a couple
Yeah.
things that you would just like. It was cool to smoke weed. It wasn't cool to do mushrooms yet. There was a few people talking about it. Eminem started talking about it. Exhibit did a song about mushrooms, but he even said it was like, "Yo, I was with some white dude. And he gave them to me. Like I'm not taking, I'm not." But it wasn't like big in the culture. But like the pill shit was like, nah. There was kind of it was. I don't know, and I guess I haven't been in every circle, so I don't know how everybody talked about it. But it was in the same vein as like if you were doing crack. Like nobody thought it was cool to do crack. You know what I'm saying? People thought it was cool if you to tell a story where you used to sell crack. Like, oh
Oh yeah.
wow, oh you're official then. You actually destroyed people's lives to make $15. All right, cool.
Good job,
Um,
buddy.
right. But it was just like, nah, man, just smoke some weed. Like heroin was completely out of the question. Like there was no like, oh no, I just do a little bit of heroin.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know when it happened to where um it just became like such a given. Like, yo, yeah, we're on those Xannies. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We're
You know what
all
happened?
hmm,
You know what happened? The children of the people that all of our crack dealers were selling crack to, their children grew up to be drug users.
mm,
That's what happened because we came from an era of drug dealers, and then the next generation were all drug
all drug.
users. It's a direct correlation, if you ask me. I feel like all is like, yeah, we don't do crack, we sell it. Well, who are you selling it to? These
the
people who
the
have little
musicians
kids,
of tomorrow.
right? You sold crack to the parents of the musicians of tomorrow. So all the old school hip hop heads, they basically are to blame for all of the music that we have right now. They did it. They did it with their pass writing for drug dealers. It's
I
their
mean,
fault.
because I got into some of these dudes only because there's I got kids around, so I hear the shit that they listen to, and I'll hear them play some Kendrick Lamar. I'll hear them play some J. Cole. You know what I mean? But I feel like for them, it's all kind of grouped together. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they don't
Right.
have the subgenres that like I compartmentalize Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole and Anderson Paak and Travis Scott. I put them like in a little bit different um a different like subgenre from the like they're not Juice World. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
I
Right.
would listen like and I remember the first time I heard him on that I don't know the name of the song, but it was that Sting or the Police Shape of Your Heart what Nas used for the message. Dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. So and I'm listening to him sing the chorus. I'm like, this shit doesn't even rhyme. He's shoehorning like that's one of the things too that is accepted now. The only person I remember that we used to let get away with it was RZA, and he never used to do it all that much until later, where you clearly don't have enough hi-hats to fit this many syllables in. So you're rushing. So you lose the symmetry of like the meter or whatever that you're laying the bar in. And it just seems to be like a signature of a lot of these dudes' songs. I'm like, wait a minute. This is like a prerequisite to be considered like musical. Like mathematically, it's got to add up. Like you can't fit all those syllables there. Sure, I can. Sure, I can. So
Mm.
it just had this really like it felt like rushed. It felt like, and I've been around when people are recording songs and like, okay, you need to change that. Like you got too many syllables there. That it sounds uncomfortable. Like it doesn't land smoothly. So like where those conversations were happening when I remember people recording music, I feel like that's not even on their radar. Like for
Right.
that product to get to market, to be like all over the place for what I would consider, and again, it's art, so there's no rules, right? Like I'm looking at a painting where all the people look like people, and they're making paintings where it's just a bunch of blotches, but it's supposed to be people. So it's a different sense of order. Like I get it. I get it. It's something, but I listen to it. I'm like, I don't understand. I can't understand. I can't. I hate to bash the dead. I'm sad that the dude died. That's tragic. But I'm like, this isn't. I don't understand how this got so popular. Like he doesn't have a nice voice, first of all, right? So you would think of like, okay, well, if you got a nice voice and you kind of sing, but it's not really singing, it's not really rapping. It's just some new shit that the kids they hear it now, like, oh yeah, it's that's hip hop. That's a part of it, And I guess in a way it is. I'm not trying to hate too much, but it's just, I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense to me how that became like cool, because I'm listening to it, I'm like, this is clearly a drug addict. Like this isn't Cypress Hill. We're super duper high on weed. This is somebody who sounds like they could barely talk. Like they took like 5 Percocets or something. Like this sounds like, so like if you watch the episode of Cops, and I'm not trying to be racist, but they show up in a trailer park and they bring one of the people out and you hear them talking really slow. I'm like, oh yeah, hillbilly heroin. Gotcha. The guy's obviously on oxys. He's riddled with oxys. And that became something that's now like super duper cool. Yeah, you take a lot of pills, you're completely fucked up all the time. That shit is cool. I'm like, nah, I never remember being. I remember smoking weed incessantly, like an ungodly, unjustifiable amount. But even at the most high from weed, you're just giggling. You're just
Mm.
giggling and doing dumb shit. Like I remember being in a car smoking weed and randomly, just absolutely randomly. It was me and 2 of my friends, and in order, without any prompting, just all of a sudden everybody, because somebody says something about Gatorade, like I want some Gatorade. So one by one, everybody started giving a rendition of like some 80s song with like Gatorade. So all of a sudden, the first thing you hear after somebody mentions Gatorade is Gatorade, Gatorade, Gatorade. And when that's over, the next person chimes in, I want a Gatorade. And I want
The spirit
Gatorade.
of the '80s.
Yo, just out of nowhere. And you can't explain it. You don't know why, but all of a sudden your consciences were all linked and it made perfect sense in the moment. And everybody had to participate, and you're just laughing and you're just stupid and you're having ridiculous conversations about the Bible and the universe. And I don't want to justify drug use, because you could be a useless piece of shit if you smoke weed all day, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. But there's just a different level, you know what I mean? Like if, because I've been, and that's when I knew to leave. Like I remember when we had just started, one of our friends got a car, so we're driving around, and I went with a couple of my homeboys to this party, and we get in there, and it's a dark room, and everybody's just sitting along the wall, and there's like a black light in the middle,
Oh
and we're like,
yeah.
what the fuck is going on?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and then you realize like, I'm at a different kind of part. Like, I don't belong here. Like, you're not talking like, if we were never, like I'm trying to take advantage of these girls, and nah. So you're in a situation where people are like basically cracked out. Like nobody's talking, there's no conversation, there's no fun. It's just people that are just completely like decimated from drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go in a room and everybody's on heroin, that's a different kind of party than people, sipping wine or
Yeah.
smoking a blunt. It's just a different kind of vibe. So something that's socially interacting, you're discussing things, you're waxing eloquent in your head, but really you sound retarded, trying to make sense of all these thoughts running through your head. There's just a totally different kind of energy with weed. And weed, I think is the reason why that was like the hallmark drug of the 90s. It went with the shit that was going on. You know what I'm saying? You had to be lyrical. There wasn't, you could show up to the studio and be out of your mind on pills and not be able to make a coherent sentence. And you're going
Yeah,
to make a song where all of your bars are rushed and they don't land on the beat right, but you're going triple platinum is a different. So, yeah, you couldn't be on drugs that were just completely debilitating you, but stuff that kind of got you in like a more free thinking, expanding your horizons intellectually type of thing. That, yeah, man, it makes sense. So yeah, man, every genre and age of music is marked by the kinds of drugs that they're using, because they're all
yeah,
using drugs. There's nobody making
absolutely.
music that's not using some kind of drugs, but it's whether you're going to use it responsibly enough. And I think there's enough tragic, like, who was it, Sly Stone, right? What, he
Hmm.
was on heroin all the time. Like
Yeah,
he fell apart. And if you listen to those old, that's another one that's been sampled to death. Sly and the Family Stone. They made a whole bunch of dope shit, and it's like it's not a good time at some point. You're having a good time, but if you get to a point where it's like, okay, this is like, it's not something that's going along with the art. It's something that's destroying your ability to make art at a certain point.
right.
So some of that pain, it adds to the artistry. But whoever is responsible for introducing this shit in mass and making it acceptable and cool, shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You have set hip hop back like 30 years to,
Definitely.
like, for the progress that it should have made. And third, I'm talking about 30 years from the high watermark. So you're like in the 50s. This is 50s hip hop right now. That's what you're
Took hip
doing.
hop back to the 50s.
Right.
Now, that's
People
real shit.
people
The
didn't figure out how to rhyme on beat yet. They're still figuring it out.
the engineers are better now, so you can be dosed out, and the technology is better. So you come there and you drool and mumble your way through it, and then the engineer is the alchemist. He works magic, bro. He makes magic out of that shit. Next thing you know, it's in the club, and everybody else is getting drunk and throwing up to it, and drunk driving on the way home listening to it. This is just what the world is right now. Nobody gives a fuck anymore. People, and I mean, I don't think, as far as with hip hop, people have always had that "I don't give a fuck" attitude. Everything is everything. It is what it is. So that kind of carefree. I don't even know if carefree is right, because carefree sounds too positive. This was
Right.
definitely
It
something else,
sounds whimsical and
right?
enlightened, and that's not this.
Yeah, it wasn't carefree. It was no fucks given
Yeah,
for a long time.
self-destructive.
Right, but I feel like the people a lot of the people who became successful then, it's like they got into the lifestyle, and it seems like they were able to maintain, for the most part, able to maintain themselves and parlay whatever they were doing into fairly successful careers as rappers. The culture is so different now. These people are like, before there's even any type of music to be made or music to be heard, it's like they're already on Instagram with $40,000 holding it to their phone, to their ear like a phone, throwing money in strip clubs and shit. And you're like, who the fuck? This guy's fucking 17 years old. He's got $40,000 in his video. And so kids see that, young people see that, and they just attach right to it. They're like, this is definitely not where we came from. Like we came from Redman, his video with pieces of tissue stuck in his nose. Like that was that was part of his art department. His art department's look for him was like, just keep these pieces of tissue stuck in your nose. That's the energy you're trying to send out to the world. And these motherfuckers are, before they even have an album out, they got diamond chains, and or at least the whole persona, the whole smoke and mirrors of it is available. That shit just wasn't available to
Right.
people back then. There was no way for you to. I mean, if you had enough drug money behind you, you could do some faking it in the real world, like like some Rockefeller shit, buy a bunch of leather jackets and champagne and act like y'all balling, and and get the streets buzzing about what you're doing. But social media and shit like that, the way you can contrive some shit and make it look like something that it's not with social media, that's a whole new world, bro.
Yeah, everybody has the power to wag the dog now.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
easy. Easy. It don't cost a whole lot, and you can even buy the engagement. That's the crazy part. Is if you don't have no buzz and nobody's listening to you, you spend $600-700 on Instagram ads or some shit like that. Next thing you know, you got 400,000 followers. Like the shit just it works. You pay into the system, and it's like, yeah, we got you. We'll put you on Front Street. We know exactly what you need. No more gatekeepers, no more people deciding whether you're cool enough to be a rapper. It's like, hey, if you got a couple grand, I'll put you right in front of the teeny boppers who are willing to fucking follow every move you make. If you get in enough trouble, you throw enough bottles, you throw a Hennessy bottle through a cop's front window, and we can get you some follows and some likes. If all you're going to be doing is rapping, I don't know, it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Right. we, we need you to turn the self-destructive impulses up to 11.
Yeah, I'm listening to this music, and it's just not suicidal enough for us. You sound like you want to stick around, and I don't know how marketable that is.
I definitely need a more of a danger to himself and others vibe.
Yeah,
I need that to come across.
it's real shit. And plus, I mean, they're probably way more medicated. Not even probably. They're more medicated than the people from our era was. The best you could do, you could get yourself some weed, and then culturally, like you said, shit was different too. So even if you did have access to other drugs, you sell those. You don't take those. But the access now is like, what the fuck? What would it have taken in '93 to get fucking 100 pills or 100 Xannies? Like, what is even the process in the '90s of trying to get some shit like that? You fuck around and be a sting operation. You go to jail.
Yeah, I got no idea, man. I
Yeah,
know we'd have to try to interview somebody who was like one of them club kids. People that used
right.
to go to raves and stuff. I'm sure they've got stories. I have absolutely no clue. I
Yeah,
have no
not in the
clue.
hood. Not in the hood. But now
Yeah.
everything is everywhere. They putting out more pills per person, than they have been in the last 10, 15 years. The prescription counts are just going up and up and up. Remember that shit that happened in Florida where it was like the smallest county in the whole state was issuing more
Oh
uh
yeah. They call them pill mills.
right.
They'll just find a way to get it approved, and it's I I had a person that's close to me describe for me what it's like being on heroin. I never tried heroin, and they said you literally do not have a care in the world. Like nothing can bother you. I had a cousin that died from heroin. One of the my cousins that was still living in Chicago. He ended up getting HIV from sharing needles and whatnot, but he was like really struggling and depressed, and that was a drug that would just make everything disappear. But along with your problems is all of your motivation, all of your like people don't realize that you gotta harness it. You don't want it to overwhelm you and destroy you. But that oh shit panic, what the fuck am I gonna do? That's healthy.
Right.
That helps you get the cogs turning so that you solve problems. When you take all of that away, like not only are you low and in a low place now, like you've taken away some of the responses that your body has available to you to help you get out of that position, you know?
Right.
And so my understanding of all of these drugs that are popular now is just a variant of heroin. So you pretty much have everybody um, putting themselves in a position where they're totally out of the game, like mentally, physically. Like, there's certain stuff, like if you get around somebody that's been around those edibles, I mean,
Oh,
it's one step away from heroin. Obviously, biochemically, it's not. You're safe, right? Where you're not going to
but
OD on edibles
but
like you
still,
would.
yeah.
But
Them
I mean,
shits
it's
can
just
get strong,
useless.
bro.
Oh yeah, you're not like, hey, would you mind taking me to the store? Hey, can you get up and make me a sandwich? I mean, if you've ever been around, I mean, I remember just being around people who would smoke too much weed and just absolute yo, can you get yo? It's right there. Just it's 3 feet away from you. I'm on the other side of the house. Just I can't do anything, can't move. And so if you're taking a really really intense kind of version of that. Like weed is a low level of laziness. Like everybody's doing pills that make them fucking dead to the world. Like how can you have a fulfilling, productive, you know, considered life, a contemplative life? Like you can't. Like you can't. There's something obviously that you don't want to be alone with your thoughts to deal with, right? And so you're it's complete escapism to a dangerous degree. And the fact that it's legal for you to get a hold of something that completely takes you away from the world, I mean, it's just silly to me that any drugs are illegal at this point. Like they need to be prescribed and doctors need to be accountable. Like if you give some shit to somebody that like destroys their life, like why are you prescribing all of this shit? Because it's not like everybody can't be buying it illegally. No way, of course not. So
No.
some of these people got to get held accountable because you are destroying people's lives. Like it's not, there's no respect for it. Like it's a sacrament. Like yo, you broke your back in fucking Afghanistan. All right, I get it. You need some pain medicine. You need some morphine. You need some Percocet. You need some Xanax. I get it. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want to deal with you like at all. And so you just that's an unhealthy thing. And like I said, there's no cultural barrier for there to be any kind of shame. You know what I'm saying? If you were that fucked up on pills all the time, like in '94, you'd have to hide it from everyone else.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just be cool like everybody else is just smoking and talking. You're like, listen, guys, I'm gonna pop these pills and pass out for 8 hours. It's cool.
What?
Yeah. All right.
Like this a band-aid because they know what people actually need is not just pain relief. It's a whole bunch of other shit that's going on top of the pain. The pain is real for a lot of people, and
For
also
sure.
the incentives that the doctors get to prescribe certain shit. They get kickbacks from certain. I mean, we all know how this shit works. It's pretty disgusting, but that's how it works. And they need more holistic attention. And that's the conversation that the medical industry wants to avoid for as long as possible. Is that you can't just give people pills to take care of shit. It just creates a cascade of problems and it just get worse and worse and worse till they die. But that's what keeps their industry fed. That's why they're able to charge what they charge and do what they do at these hospitals. If you went to a hotel and they charged you $150 for an aspirin and you could prove it, like you showed your itemized receipt and it was $150, you ask them for aspirin, they would probably get canceled on the internet and they might get shut down. Like somebody's district manager is getting fired or some shit like that. But hospitals do that shit routinely and nobody says anything. They'll fuck you right over, bro. You know how many people have posted uh, if you want to lower your hospital bill by a certain whatever 20% or something like that, ask them for an itemized receipt for all the charges, and your bottom line changes automatically because they're like, oh wait, let's fix this real
Absolutely.
good because
Or
we
tell
about
them you
to
don't
totally
have
fuck them over.
insurance.
Oh shit, they might roll
It,
your ass out the bed.
if you tell them you do not have insurance, they will give you a completely different price list.
Wow.
The shit that you get is with the assumption that you have an insurance company that's going to pay for it. These are contracted rates or allowable amounts, and that's what they're charging. But if they're like, okay, it's a $25,000, 2 days stay from the emergency room and then overnight for observation. Oh, you don't have insurance? 4 grand. 4 grand. We'll take that. Because they know nobody can pay that.
Right.
No working class person can pay that.
Yeah.
Even someone that's well established, like you got 400 grand in your 401k, you own your house, right? You're not going to withdraw from your retirement to pay something like that. You know what I'm saying? No, nobody has. I mean, you could if they sued you, I guess, right? But most people, just don't have that much money to reasonably make any kind of plan. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about a brand new car, a nice car,
Right.
for 2 days, of basically, hey, we watched you and made sure you didn't die. Now you start talking about a surgery. Oh Lord.
Oh, please. Yeah, fuck that, bro. It's just a bad thing. The whole thing is bad. But I mean, like I said, they're trying to avoid the realization that people just need holistic attention. You can't just throw pills at motherfuckers. It's psychological shit that's going on. It's generational shit that needs to be addressed. And I know that's a lot. You can't expect people the way they're trained right now and the way the whole system is socialized. You can't expect people to be responsible for all of that shit. But that's the truth of what's going to fix this shit. As
Yep.
long as you keep giving people painkillers and you know they don't need them for as long as they're taking them, and you keep get like this is what's going to happen. But it's not bothering the right people yet. It's not
No.
becoming an outrage to the right demographic. And that's sad to say because people can always look at the problem and be like, oh, well, that's them, or it's not that bad, or these people should have made better decisions. And it stops them from seeing the pattern that's happening, the repeating pattern, and how that shit grows and how it's affecting more and more people. Bro, it's not like fiends at the park passed out, under a tree somewhere. It's fucking parents driving their children home from daycare who decided to fucking take some pills at the red light and don't even make it home because they fall asleep driving the car and shit like that. People at the park with their kids, the kids are playing in the park and the parents are passed out in the car and people banging on the window trying. These are people who look like they got decent jobs, they got nice cars, taking their kids to little, nice little parks in the neighborhood, and they passed out fucking overdosing in the parking lot.
It's
That should tell
it's
you.
it's absolutely insane, and the sickness is in the culture.
Right.
What I've come to accept in disturbing my mind and engaging a lot of this shit throughout the years. I've definitely concluded now more than ever that culture is the most important thing to address beyond fucking politics, beyond just do the right thing and yeah, don't do that, don't make bad decisions. All of that comes from culture, and the problem is, and you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the pharmaceuticals incentives, right? As far as
Yeah.
how they approach the doctors, and how places get bonuses if you promote X, Y, or Z drug or whatever. So the problem is when you have, there's certain products that we should want to be like, I hope I don't have to sell a lot of these. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're an arms dealer, like your job is to manufacture guns for wars, you would want to say, I hope business isn't really that good. Like I'm meeting a
Yeah, right.
need. I'm meeting a need. But I'm saying in a moral culture, in a culture that's not sick, you
Yeah.
recognize like I make something that's necessary, but I don't want it to be in demand. Because if it's in demand, then something horrible is coming, is something horrible is happening, right?
Right.
So the problem is once you make this pill, you're only going to get rich if you sell a lot of the pills. But the reality is, most of these people really don't need these pills. Like you're talking about um, something that is such a severe pain reliever, right? That very few people would ever be in a position, unless like you're on your deathbed, unless you were in a major car accident. There's no reason to be on these strong of drugs, right? Not
Right.
just for your emotions. You feel bad, you're upset about something. Nah, that's not what these are for. These are, you're really fucked up. We really need to block your pain receptors, and we really need to get the endorphins out there. So we're going to biochemically alter your body to trick you into thinking you're not as fucked up as you actually are, so that you can have a more comforted experience as your body is healing, or you're passing away. That's really what these drugs are for. Um,
Yeah.
but you're not going to get rich like that. So you got to say, instead of culturally, if we had any kind of sacred responsibility attached to any of these, materialistic pursuits, we would say, I've created something that may be useful for the world in certain situations, but I hope it doesn't have to be widespread. I hope there's not that many people. And if you want to get rich and you say, well, there's not that many situations that are this severe that would warrant it, the next step is to say, all right, well, let's start giving it out maybe willy-nilly. Let's lower the standard of how bad shit has to be. So it's like, were you in a car accident? No. Are you dying from stage 4 cancer? No. Did you sprain your ankle? A little. I kind of just feel sad. Can I have some drugs? You know? And to distribute them that loosely, I mean, it's because nobody at any part of the, that those chain of events anywhere up the ladder, nobody feels any kind of sacred responsibility. Like you would think, if we weren't in a sick society, that at least the doctors, you know what I'm saying, the Sackler family, the pharmaceutical companies, okay, fine, they're pieces of shit. They just want money. They don't care how detrimental some of these effects could be. They're your average drug dealer. They don't give a fuck about you. They'll give you a free sample. They want you to have the first one for free, but they don't give a fuck about you. But the doctor is somebody that went to school. You would think, yeah, they want to make money. It's an honored profession within our society, as it should be. But you took an oath to not do any harm, and you're supposed to be doing what's best for the patient. So you'd think that, yeah, there's all these financial incentives and pressures everywhere up the ladder that continues this, the irresponsible distribution. But you would think there wouldn't be so many doctors that were just that hungry for money that they would be pieces of shit and they wouldn't take on any sort of sacred responsibility. Like, nah, I'm gonna make money off of this. I might fuck you up, but hey, you said your ankle hurt, and that's good enough for me, and I don't care. Like, that's totally a culture thing. That's total. Like, if you had like the same culture we just talked about, where it's like, yeah, I'll smoke some weed, but nah, I don't want to sit in this room and fucking do pills with you losers under a black light and basically all be passed out. Like, this is stupid. This is not my idea of a good time. There was nobody that had to tell me, like, don't ever do heroin or don't ever do ecstasy or don't ever do. It was just, culturally, it was cool to smoke weed. It was taboo to do anything else. And I would say that culture probably kept a lot more people from trying a lot of other drugs than other people who didn't have those kind of cultural barriers. Who are just like, fuck it. If weed is good, then maybe the other shit is better. Let me just try everything, So
Yeah, you got two different types of people who could have been listening. Because now that when I'm listening to you talk, I'm realizing that, well, like we said, the drug dealers were selling drugs to the parents of the kids who would become drug users. But also, hip hop spent a lot of time shaming motherfuckers for not having all the shit that they floss in their videos. So not only did I sell your mother crack, now I'm gonna show bottles of champagne and half naked women in my videos and make fun of you for not having it.
this is how my life. This is how good my life is by
Yeah,
destroying yours.
from selling your mother crack. Now I'm in a Bentley. See how that
Yeah,
works? And then you're watching those videos and you're just like, fuck, I'm gonna get some of my mom's pain pills and pop them shits. And then
it's
you become a rapper.
irresponsible capitalism. It's
Yeah.
irresponsible capitalism with no righteous culture to act as a barrier so that you don't abuse your freedom. That's what this is. We have, and I don't want to say we have too much freedom because I don't think there's such a thing for an adult for there to be something is too much freedom. But we have so much freedom that culturally and morally we we are irresponsible. And when I say we, I mean all of us as a society. Like, and obviously, all of the luxuries and conveniences that we have hasn't led to happiness, and that's why, I mean, everybody is on pills. Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody. I was shocked. The more people I found, it's like, yo, everybody has fucking like, I'm the only person who's not trying to solve all my problems with fucking pills. Like, everybody, I kind of just get a little anxious and da 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 da. Okay, and sometimes, I kind of get a little depressed and then okay. You know, I like right now, I got a testosterone crisis. I have a crisis of T. It's it's the doctor's like, yo, we want to shoot you up with testosterone. We want to put these little pellets in your butt that'll be time released so you can just be surging with roid rages, constantly. And I'm like, you know what? I don't I don't feel compelled to cheat on my girl or to hit her, even when arguably maybe I should consider it. I'm very docile, and I
Uh,
think maybe
I do
maybe
not disavow.
so my thing is like I'm like, well, maybe this is nature's way to make us like less animals. And why do I want to go? Because I'm listening to it. It's like, well, you could have a heart attack. Um, you're kind of irritable now because you're low T. But if I give you this, like, you're gonna find yourself getting angry a lot more. Like, you're gonna have kind of a trigger button that you could potentially like go into a rage. So you just got to be really careful about this. I'm like, yeah, you're molding me into like a warrior mode, and maybe we're supposed to be maybe out of that. Maybe that's what's going on in the world. Like, cause I heard Anthony Camille on one of his shows talk about it. He's like, look, I'm losing all my hair on my arms. I'm becoming a woman unwillingly. I'm transitioning. He's like, I'm just gonna get jacked like Joe Rogan. I'm gonna get on my testosterone supplements and do it. And there's like this phenomenon, like even in young dudes. Like, there was dudes in their 20s. They were on this show, and they were all like in the 200s, like low. Like, you're supposed to be like 250's the super duper low end. Like, you should be above 300 up to like 1200, like parts per nano something or whatever. I don't know the measurement, um, but I'm like, maybe this is nature's way of like, listen, there's a lot of fucking and killing going on. It's plagued your species since we first started with you primates. And if you keep up with this animalistic appetite of the person that can kill the most gets to make all the decisions of conquering and imposing your will and on everybody because you have the power to do it. If you keep down this road and you're going to make the product in a shitty way because you have the power over the people to do so, and you don't have any sort of cultural barrier to prevent you from just maximizing your profits at the expense of someone else's misery. If nothing like that exists, I think I just got to take away all of your testosterones. I got to lower it as much as possible. If this is the only way to get your attention and to get you guys to stop killing each other and taking advantage of each other and seeing every problem to be solved by either fucking it or killing it, maybe this is just nature's way. Maybe there's like some sort of phenomenon. It could just be the poisoned food and water. I don't know. But they say that in America, it's absolutely a crisis. Like, testosterone levels are lower across the boards than they've ever been since they started tracking them.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't. I'm resisting it. I'm just like, well, let me just take better care of myself, and let me go get some sun. That'll get me some D3. That helps with it. And I'll bone my girl more. I'll do some more push-ups. I'll raise my T naturally. But I don't want to go get shots. And like, had the first thing to do is, okay, modern medicine, what can you do just to fix this? Because maybe there's an underlying cause, or maybe there's a natural explanation, for why we're supposed to be like that. You know what I'm saying?
There
Or this
is.
is pure speculation. Yeah.
There is. There 100% is. We're not even going to get into the metaphysical paradigm shift business. I'll leave that for another time. But the basics, the absolute basics of it is you're not on the prowl anymore. So technically, you don't really need it. You're not in any life or death situations. It's very unlikely that some kind of fucking tiger's gonna jump out and try to kill you. Same thing with, it's low likelihood of the road rages and all this other kind of shit that you could be confronted with. There's not a high chance that that shit's going to happen. Your brain's not on the prowl because you have a lady and you're not out here trying to freaking spread seed and everything else. So that's a whole level of psychological activity that's turned off in your brain. And that shit affects your body too. It's guaranteed it's a good thing. Now I know these a lot of red pill guys in these relationship manosphere dudes will be like, no, you gotta stay alpha because if she sees you chill and kick your feet up and like start painting, doing poetry and shit, she's gonna leave you for an alpha because you're starting to get you're turning into a beta now. And it's like, you can say that, and there might be some evidence to suggest that some women do see that as being soft, but it's probably not women that have been in long-term relationships with these dudes. It's probably women who are in their prime and they're just like, no, I need an aggressive dude. And like, you're not talking to somebody who's been with their partner for 15 years and she's like, oh, I'm gonna leave him because he's not alpha enough. That I feel like that would be very, very rare. People who are in positive uh, monogamous relationships, I think they have a whole different concept of how, for the most part, how this shit is supposed to break down. You need your testosterone to bag a lady, and you've bagged a lady already. So, and I don't mean bag as in like, against her will. It's just a, figure of speech. But you've done it already.
You've
You-
kidnapped a woman and made her love you.
So you've already succeeded. So your body and your brain is like, okay, so we got that part covered. You're gonna raise a little bit more tea, being out in the garden, digging, ditches and planting trees and shit like that. That's gonna help you out. That's gonna give you a nice sense of accomplishment over the landscape and shit. That's all gonna help bubble you up a little bit. But I mean, do you really need to be at like roided up quarterback level right now? I'm
I
more
don't need
than
I don't
second
I
winning.
don't I don't need the 800 nanograms. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good. I'm good where I'm at.
Yeah, who nobody needs that shit, bro. Don't let those guys trick you into thinking you got to be high T. Low T dudes are killing it right now.
I,
Low
I
T guys are all the rage.
I really think it could be something. I don't know, maybe it is attributed to the food and water or whatever. But I think really if there is some sort of phenomenon that can't be explained, if I'm to put on my metaphysical speculative goggles on, I would say that um, the way that humanity's operated on the earth, and
Mhm.
this isn't to bash, I'm not bashing men. There's no positives about men. That's not what I'm doing at all. I'm not on that shit. But just to say that um, femininity and the positives of femininity and how the attributes of femininity and how it approaches problem solving, how it approaches conflict, right? How it seeks to have harmony with things, um, as opposed to the masculine counterpart of how it creates order, right? I think it's something that is needed in a mass scale. And so, if I was going to have any sort of like tin-foiled hat speculation, I would say that the low T phenomenon is nature's way of telling us that we've been too aggressive. We need to tone it down a bit. Conquering is overrated, and we need to chill out. We need to chill out. We need to be a little bit more peaceable, a little bit more yielding, a little bit more accommodating, a little more kind to our enemies, and instead of just trying to conquer them. And that's not just physically but intellectually too. It's that same kind of spirit and that same kind of energy that's involved, and really hostile, unproductive conversations, which seem to be pretty much the norm.
Yeah. Yeah, change has to happen, and it is happening. It is happening. That's just the metaphysics of it. It's the spirit of the age. Shit is changing on a fundamental level. And you can see it everywhere you look. There's groups of people who are seeking the same thing within, like, if you look at one big group of people, like you said, you listening to all these guys, Tim Pool and all these people, and eventually they meander their way right to this same idea that so
Yep.
many other groups of people are already discussing. It's a subculture emerging out of all of these conditions that's pushing people into this realization. And it's a fact because when you start putting that pressure on, the truth is going to reveal itself. That's why everybody's not splintered in hundreds of different directions. There's a lot of people who haven't gotten to that realization yet, so they might be talking about a whole lot of other shit, but as the conversation goes on, they're all going to come to the same place because that's the
Yep.
truth of the matter. They're going to have to break up some of these silliness, this tribal affiliation that we have. We're going to have to disperse from these major cities a little bit. We're going to have to start building different types of communities and start treating people differently, just on a grand scale. That's the only way to put any. And I mean, depending on who you ask, there may not even be a reverse for this situation because you talk to some of the climate folks and someone you never know. A lot of people say that it's already a wrap, by whatever it is, 2200 or something like that. We've already fucked ourselves so bad. But barring a technological miracle, we might already be screwed as a species. But the good thing about that is how exponentially technology improves itself in short periods of time. You know what I'm saying? So by 2100, oh my God, who the fuck knows? Well, I was just listening to somebody the other day, and they said that some scientists created some mathematical equation that said if we built a rocket and sent it into space uh, on full speed, like no stop, just full thrusters, in 100 years, we would build another rocket that would catch that first one and pass it.
Mm.
So that tells you how fast technology replaces itself. Not only build a better rocket, but build one that you could catch the one that you sent off 100 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't really buy into some of that climate alarmism. Um, it's not to say that, I mean, polluting is bad just because it's polluting. Like it's an irresponsible, like, you don't shit where you eat. Yeah, I know that's an expression for like doing dirt close to where you live, but just in general, like for hygienic reasons, if you shit where you eat, you're gonna cross contaminate, right?
Right.
So when you're talking about you get your food and your atmosphere and all of the essential ingredients of life from the earth, it's a good idea not just to riddle it with fucking pollutants. Well, whether it's causing global warming or not, or it's going to cause it to go across a threshold from which we can't ever return, it's just a bad idea in general. It makes sense to preserve the planet that we've inherited. Like that, that just makes common
You would
sense to me.
think. You
You
would
would
think.
think, right?
You say you don't shit where you eat. Humans are shitting in their fucking pillowcases right now. We don't give a damn with the top. I mean, between all of the fucking pollution, the topsoil loss, like everything that's going on together. Like I said, I haven't done all of the math and research all of the data, but when I hear people say, it's like that cartoon car that drove off the cliff. We just still
Right.
have the forward momentum, and we didn't realize yet the gravity
It's
hasn't
already
kicked.
off the cliff.
Right,
Yeah,
it's already
yeah,
off the
yeah.
cliff. And there's people who say shit like that. And like I said, I don't know. But when I look at how we treat the planet, like we don't even fucking have to live here. The shit that we allow corporations to do because they can pay fines and they can kick back shit and lobbyists. And it's like, I kind of feel like that could be true. That we could have already fucked ourselves with the amount of everything cumulative that we're doing that's counterintuitive to having longevity on the planet. People they just take it as a given. I don't know if it's from like the deep seated like religious indoctrination that most of us have. I don't know if they just think somebody's going to come and fix it at the last second, or if it's like going to be, I don't know what they think. But if you look at a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now, it's 100% stupid. It's like, you
Thank
know,
God the
yeah,
safety net.
yeah, it's really really dumb. It's so dumb. It's frustrating sometimes to see the processes that people allow the businesses to go through, like just the things that they do when there's clear, objective solutions that are right on the table, and is either it's about tradition or just about where the money's going, and that they don't want to interrupt that. They just want to keep doing shit the way they do it. It's like they don't even give a fuck about their own. Like a lot of these people, like these ranchers and shit that's doing all this terrible agriculture, farming, monoculture, and all of that shit. It's a lot of these people got kids and grandkids, and they don't seem to give a fuck either. Or they just think that they're gonna make enough beef dollars to build a fucking high rise ranch or something like that. You're gonna live above the smog. I don't know what.
they're not.
It's
My understanding is like people in agriculture don't make a whole lot of money. Like I heard the margins are pretty slim, like relative to the ways you can make money in America. So I
what are
don't
they
know.
doing?
I don't know. Because I heard a lot of farms like fail.
Well,
It's
they got them locked into these subsidies and shit right now, where it's hard to make any money for real because of how shit. People don't even understand how shit gets to the table, because the government has to pay welfare to the farms because they've already been fucked so bad. They got seeds they got to buy every year. It's illegal for them to collect. A lot of them, it's illegal for them to collect their own seeds because the company that sold them the seeds own patents
owns
on it
it.
and shit. Like it's
Yeah.
fucking. That's what I'm saying. Like how it's the whole thing is like people who have escape hatches ready to go at any moment. Ready to go at any moment. They're treating it like a leapfrog planet. Like we'll just go to the next one, start another sim game, just push reset.
Yeah.
So maybe they know something we don't know. Like I said, it could be the religious thing. Maybe they think at the last possible second, God's gonna come with the buzzer beater. You know what I'm saying?
For three from way downtown.
Jehovah from downtown. Yeah, I don't know what they
Nothing
think
but
is gonna
that the
happen.
planet doesn't blow up.
Of
Well,
course.
what like I said, so yeah, I won't get into too much because I'm not a scientist. I'm not gonna pretend I'm a scientist. I know there's absolutely a consensus that we contribute um to climate change, but I also know that climate change is a phenomenon that they've examined for the
Right.
hundreds of
Yeah.
years that we have data. The climate is always changing, and
Right.
a hotter Earth is not a problem like a colder Earth is. Like you would much rather be in a position where the tropical zone goes up to Canada rather than the whole planet is under an ice age and there's not enough animals or plant life to sustain any kind of ecosystem. And new forms of life have to emerge after like 95% of the planet is wiped out by an ice age. Like an ice age, you ain't got, I mean, there's no hope. Like, oh, well, I'll just go underground and we'll figure out how to stay
Nah.
warm. And like, what are you going to eat? You can't grow any food. Well, I'll just hunt animals. What the fuck do you think the animals are going to eat? Like, you think there's going to, like, the pickings would be very slim. Like, there, it would be a very few, maybe if we're lucky, a couple of thousand people that survive to repopulate the earth if there's an ice age. So if I got to go between a colder earth and a slightly hotter earth, slightly hotter is preferable.
Yeah.
Especially if you hate white supremacy.
Right.
I
That's what I
mean,
was
look,
about to say. The cold earth is just rebooting the whole Yakubian folklore, bro. We don't need that shit.
we're starting over from Yakub year zero.
Yeah,
Starting all over.
we need more
Let's
sun. We need the sun god to usher himself back
listen.
in.
And so we declare it today. Global warming is a hoax from white supremacy to make sure it never gets too hot to make white people uncomfortable.
Wow.
Think about how many people have bought into this. So wait a minute.
Wow.
You s-
Hold on.
you're saying if the whole world was hot like Africa would be the worst thing ever? Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying, Deshaun.
Wow. So the people who die by the sun. Um, yeah, that's some game right there, bro. That's some real game right there. They're making us think the worst thing that could happen is for the planet to warm up. And they're just like, no, just keep it cool out here, baby.
Keep
Keep
it
it cool.
cavey. Keep it
Yeah.
drafty.
These polar caps are melting. We're getting nervous. That's hilarious. Yeah, they're trying to avoid that. They're trying to avoid the reemergence of the sun god, bro.
Yeah, we want these giant icy mounds to stand as testament to white supremacy on both poles of the earth.
Yeah.
That's what lets you know it's ours. There's big icy mounds in heaven above and in hell below. We owe the whole thing, and we don't want it heated up and melted away, revealing the greenery, African-y type of terrain that may be underneath. We need it all covered in whiteness for as long as possible.
Wow. Yes, I'm convinced now. I'm convinced global warming is a white supremacist hoax.
Yep. If you're standing against global warming, you're standing for the continued reign of white supremacy.
That's true. Holy shit. We gotta. Oh yeah. We need a brand new campaign for this one, bro. We've been brainwashed again. They keep catching us slipping. And like we want to keep everything cool for the vampires. I mean, for everybody. I see what y'all motherfuckers are doing. I see what you're doing. Yeah, we gotta learn. We gotta learn from the Yakubian folklore. We gotta keep it warm out here, son. We gotta keep the sun god high up in the sky, holding everybody accountable. Holding everybody accountable. The cold earth is actually what they're doing reverse psychology, bro. They want another ice age.
I bet you didn't know pumpkins can grow in the cold.
Of course they can. Of course they can. White supremacy is always two steps ahead, bro.
Do whatever you want. I'm gonna be in this cave grooming my wolves and
Yeah,
giant orange gourds for spicy pumpkin.
right.
Spicy. Don't make it too hot out here for me.
Oh my God. Me and my dog with his 700 genetic diseases would bring him into the cave and
Bring us
refine that bloodline.
700 animal diseases.
And
I see
sheep.
you, Yakub.
Bring me a few sheep that can survive without shearing also. I'm gonna need a few of those down here. Oh man, bro, don't they oh gosh, dude, this is horrible. This is horrible. I hate when it starts to make sense like this. Because it's like I feel like I got a glimpse of some secret truth. Secret truth. It all makes sense. They're trying to validate their own existence. We're getting into Nick Cannon territory right here, so be careful. Be careful. So we're not talking about white people as in random white people. We're talking about whiteness as a supremacist concept. So people who buy into the idea of white supremacy, these are the people who we're talking about. These are the people who are trying to wreck the planet. We can't let them do it. They're validating their own existence by creating problems and then celebrating when they solve the problems. But they won't stop creating new problems. Yeah, it's like a freaking parasite that's eating itself. It's ridiculous, bro. This is it. This is it. This is the last frontier. Is keeping the planet warm. And they got everybody thinking you need to lower your carbon. You actually need to make your carbon footprint bigger.
And then just in case you didn't figure it out, it's a lot colder on Mars.
Oh, is that why they're going over there? Is Mars colder? Really?
Yeah, Mars is further away from the sun. It's the
Yeah.
next planet over.
There you go. See, they're telling us that global warming is a problem, and they're trying to find a colder. Well, yeah, yeah. I say let them go. I say we all feign death. I say all the properly aligned people just feign death, so all the rich sickos will leave. Because all the people who can afford to go to Mars, they'll all leave, and they'll think they're abandoning us, and we'll just fix everything when they're gone.
Yeah, just in mass. Nobody shows up for work, and they're like,
Right.
"Oh, so either it was the rapture, either the Bill Gates coronavirus killed everybody. Whatever the case may be, nobody's showing up to work. I guess we wiped them out. We finally did it, gentlemen. Now we can return to our home planet of Mars." And then they leave. And then
Like,
and
yeah,
then
just declare as a society we're just done. We're done. We're done with it all. We're not doing nothing from here on out. We're drawing the line in the sand, and we're not doing anything until y'all leave to Mars.
yeah,
That's it. We're not going to work. We're not paying no bills. We're nothing. We're just gonna stay still. So either you're gonna get the army to arrest and fucking quarantine three-quarters of the country, or y'all just say fuck it and pull your escape hatch and go to Mars.
just go. We don't want to live under the vampiric paradigm of corruption, power, and exploitation. There's a better way of doing things, and it's a way that's not created by threats and violence. It's human beings that want to participate in something different and they don't need rulers. They don't need guns pointed at them. They don't need motivation beyond their desire to serve and create something better. And yeah, you can't do that. The problem has always been, if you, well, how are you going to get everybody to do that? There's going to be there's going to be pieces of shit who don't want anything. You can't have them be a part of your community. You just
Right.
can't. It's like, okay, well, do you want to do absolutely nothing? You're going to have to see how that works out. There's no society available for you at this point. The people that were exploiting the fact that you had no vision and didn't want to contribute everything, they're all in Mars now, and they didn't want to take you with them. So you're gonna have to get a different, because that's really what's happening right now. Is it's clear we don't have a singular popular culture anymore. Like, culture is more splintered than ever, right? And the culture that we have is like the default available to us. It's being rejected in mass. Like, everybody's pretty much seems to agree that what we have available to us is sickness. It's just a sickness culture. It's sick in the way that it solves problems. It's dysfunctional in the way that it aligns us together and how we interact. But people disagree to varying degrees on how much they're willing to participate or isolate from the culture. But nobody's happy with. I mean, how many people can you talk to that are really just think, yeah, all this shit is great? Like, it's not leading to people leading happy, fulfilled lives. And so I think what you're seeing is more and more people are disengaging and having to think about it from the ground up. And a new culture is eventually going to emerge, and that culture is going to be incompatible with the way the status quo solves problems now. And
Yeah.
so, if that culture ever gets the reins of power, it'll solve problems differently. If that culture is never allowed to enter into those kinds of realms where it can wield power, that culture is not going to care, because another part of that culture that's emerging, and again, is universal. It's not just the shit that we're talking about, people that aren't even on this shit, but are just for other reasons, whether it's political, or just seeing the sickness of major cities. Everybody is kind of getting the idea. It's like, okay, well, then I'll just figure out a way to be self-sufficient. And so if you got a culture that can solve its own problems, that doesn't need anything from the outside world necessarily in order to function, then you don't have anything to buy in, right? You don't have any buy-in. There's no incentive for, if you won't let those people to ever gain the reins of power to change the way things are done. You just don't have those people as battery cells to fuel your agenda. So I think you're going to see more and more a pull for people to really be big on self sufficiency to the extent that you can. Obviously, everybody's living situation is going to be a little different, and you may not be as autonomous as somebody who has like 10 acres in the middle of nowhere, right? But little things. Get up one fucking planter and figure out how to grow some shit. You know,
Right.
just some sort of connection with. That's a big part of the new cultural movement's going to have to be, is you have been lured away and isolated from any kind of connection to your food supply, to the earth, to anything that's natural. You've basically been trapped away. And somebody pointed this out to me one time. We were in one of these fun Yakubian discussions. He's like, dude, buildings are just caves. Like, that's all buildings are. They're just caves on top of other caves. It's still, ever since you guys got out of caves, you've been trying to figure a way to recreate caves to make you comfortable.
It's
You
kind
don't
of
want to
true.
be outside. It's
Kind of
absolutely
true.
true. And
Okay,
it's
air
hilarious.
conditioned offices are very much like Ice Age caves.
Let's make it like a cave.
That makes perfect sense.
So we've been connected from everything that's natural to have this really sterile, sanitized, disconnected. We're singularly focused on a meaningful task, and then all these other people in the supply chain give us these essential items that we're no longer connected to as far as sourcing them or knowing how to produce them. Like, we're inside cave cats. We have no survival skills outside of it. If anything collapsed or fell apart, and what we're getting in return for making sure that all of the machinery for this sanitized, detached, snarky kind of sanitized lifestyle that's being crafted, like what we're getting in return for it is like enough money to spend to get some more of the useless goods, but nobody's happy. No, nobody's happy. We're all on pills because we're unfulfilled and we're unhappy. So if that's the end of the assembly line for all of our effort, like, oh yeah, we'll just keep propping up this air conditioned cave utopia, and it'll be great, and everything will continue as is. And what do I get it? Well, at the end of it, you'll have just enough money to spend on shit that you think is going to make you happy, and then it doesn't, and then you'll get up and go to work again tomorrow. And most people are like, nah, I don't see the point in that. And the problem is a lot of the people who rightfully see that it's pointless and are saying, nah, they don't have any viable, productive, or helpful skills to contribute to crafting something new. So that's where I think once the culture emerges, where there's actually resources and a framework in place, so that people that understand that it's fucked up actually have something to go to invest their time and energy to being more productive and helpful, I think you'll see a much bigger shift. And I see it slowly happening. I see it slowly happen. I could see Elon Musk eventually taking some of these billions of dollars and start making some of these hippie communes. I mean,
Oh yeah.
shit. If I ever had a chance to meet him, I would absolutely. I wouldn't even waste any time. Hi, Elon. How are you doing? Listen, here's my pitch. I would absolutely ask him to fund every single bit of it, every single bit
Yeah.
of the cult compound shit. Like, let's just start small. Let's say we do 60. How does 60 sound, Elon? It'll be like 5 billion. That's a
Just to
drop in the
start.
bucket for you. Just to
Nothing.
start,
You won't even miss it.
let's make 60 of these little farming, biologically intelligent factories, make some biodegradable hemp, make some sort of product in the factory in a way that maybe it's not as cost effective as it could be just yet, but it's emerging technology. But if it becomes the norm, it is what it is. And every one of these places has a way for a group of people to cultivate their food supply, to get money by working at a factory that the community owns that gives an essential product to the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? Containers are absolutely essential. It's a part of the the Babylonian world as it is right now. No
Right.
matter what you buy, it comes in some sort of shiny plastic that's never going to fall apart, or it's going to fall apart in 500 years. And there's no reason not to make one that once you put it in the ground and it's open, it's biodegraded in a couple years here. It's gone. It's good to go.
Hmm.
So
It's a
think about
fact.
it. Yeah, all of these factories that could be something that you don't even have to get the reins of power. You don't have to have some sort of communist takeover and start dictating how everybody needs to do everything, right? You just create places where people want to live. They want to live peacefully. They want to live independently. They want to live harmoniously. And they want their labor to create something that's useful to the world, but is not directly responsible for helping destroy it.
Right.
And I think if people had the opportunity, a lot of these people throwing Molotov cocktails and fucking becoming black belts and fucking intersectionality, you know what I'm saying, studies, your mental energy and your effort would be so much more efficient and effectual if it was actually put in one of those settings where your labor and your intellectual energy could be going to actually crafting an alternative. Because
Yeah.
you got the burn down what is, you got that part right. But what you haven't figured out is if you burn down what is, everybody, including everybody that you love, their survival is directly attached to everything that is. So you
Right.
can't just burn down everything that is. More productive than that is just building what is to be. Building what is to be, and then make that an inevitable alternative for where the world is going. And you can't do that with a government. You can't do that with just changing policy. That can only be done by culture, where there's enough of a demand for people to want to see different lifestyles and different products made available than what the current status quo is. And the current status quo is we're all going to be on pills and hate each other. In in
Facts.
in Babylon's mouse utopia for the ages, and we'll be able to connect with each other faster than ever before, so we can tell each other faster than ever before how much we hate each other and hate our own lives.
It's ridiculous. But like you said, it's happening more every day. People are getting aligned the way they're supposed to be. I think it's naturally, even with the whole, pandemic vibe, is giving people a time to think about things in different perspectives and from, different angles and shit like that. So it's all feeding into the same direction. Everything that's happening that seems like it's independent around in all these other sectors are all feeding into the same outlet. It's the only, I mean, it's the inevitable choice if you're moving forward to a place where you're going to start repairing things instead of continuously being destructive. That's the only direction to go in. It's the only direction to go in. And it's no point, I mean, to the point where it would be, I would consider it wasting time to even argue if this is the place we need to go with anybody. Like your time, like you said, your time is better spent just building, just stacking the bricks, doing what you got to do, because eventually they'll come around. Because if I'd love to hear somebody explain why we should be doing the opposite. We should actually be making the high rises bigger and making the city congestion even deeper, because we need to get closer together in these huge coastal fucking, like, just explain to me why that's the way to keep doubling down in that direction. It doesn't make any literal sense right now. The only way is to go the opposite. People are already pretty much fed up and done with the whole office space cubicle energy. I'm pretty sure everybody, especially in this country, everybody's pretty much done with that shit right now. Nobody wants to hear, okay, everything's fine, you can all go back to your cubicles. Nobody wants to hear that shit right now. So any business that's worth its fucking salt is trying to figure out a way. Like, do we really need everybody together in a building for 8 hours a day? Really? Do we even need this building? Technically, I mean, we're at the place right now. I know, with the whole work ethic thing, it kind of sucks to pay somebody a bunch of money when you think all they're gonna do is sit at home in their boxers and have Zoom meetings with a shirt, tie on, and flip flops, and they're gonna do all their work from home. It seems like you're getting robbed, but you're saving so much on
On the
overhead.
overhead, yes.
You know
I,
what I mean?
I couldn't imagine why anyone at this point. I mean, when you talk about how expensive these leases are, that these corporations, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars just so you can have people in the same spot when their work is 100% contingent upon their ability to access the internet, which you
Right,
can access from anywhere.
right.
That the days are gone where the building is necessary for the work to get done. There's no justification at this point for people to all go and be in an office building. I mean, and if you want to talk about cutting back costs instead of like pimping the slave labor, you know what I'm saying? Here's a way that you can actually cut down the expenses. Maybe if you feel like it, pay your people at least a little bit more. You know the cost savings are definitely going to go to the executives. They'll, oh,
Yeah.
we saved 300 million in leases this year. Great. So how much can I wait? Is the board going to vote? How many extra millions am I going to get out of that 300?
Right.
They'll find a way to extract the majority of it up to the very top. But at the very least, I mean, this is a way that you've made the company more profitable, cut back on the overhead, and it didn't have to come at outsourcing human misery. You didn't have to spread the gospel of human exploitation all over the earth in order to come up with that better bottom line. So I don't
Yeah.
understand why everybody's not jumping on this. At this point, office buildings it should be an obsolete, antiquated idea that
Yep.
nobody's considering.
Yep. The only thing left is power dynamic and control. The whole idea of I gotta get up, I gotta go there, I gotta be. You're in their cave. for 8 hours a day. You just went to
Can we
somebody
just
else's
start calling
cave.
rooms and buildings caves at this
Right, the
point?
caves. I think so. I
Yeah.
think that's just what they're called now. So you have to think about the power shift that happens when you leave your cave to go work in somebody else's cave for the whole day.
Mm, it's some
You just
tough.
you just disempower yourself just by stepping into their shit. They got their AC set to a different temperature than yours is set to. They don't make their coffee like you make yours. You on the back foot all day. You at a disadvantage as soon as you walk in, bro. The whole energetic signature of that place is control and pressure on you from all angles. That's why I feel so good to clock out. It should, and technically it shouldn't even, right? Because you on the clock, you making money. When you clock out, the money stops, but that's the best part of your day.
And also, I think you see yourself more as a business owner rather than employee. Like,
Right,
and because the only thing that you have to offer is the quality of your work, but you're pretty much using your own resources,
right,
your computer, your electricity, your internet, and you know, you working for a company. But I think I think it just changes your mind state. Is like when you're doing it in your own space, there's just a higher level of ownership, you know. And I'm sure there'll be those people that will use working from home as you know, as an excuse to like do less work. But I don't even really know how you could get away with doing that. Because if you're at home, any corporation you work for is going to be monitoring you more than ever because they can't visually see you,
yeah,
right? They're going to be checking your keystrokes. They're going to be checking your phone calls. They're going to be checking your TPS reports. And I actually recall some studies saying that people have a tendency to actually be more productive from home because their work life balance is better. You
mm-hmm.
know, like I know when I work from home, you know, my girl has dinner on the table by the time she gets home because I can go on my 15-minute break and start the chicken or start the rice. You know what I'm saying? You
Right,
sweep up on break. Like the house is never cleaner because it's not like I had to go through this whole, you know, 2 hour commute throughout the day and running around and getting in traffic and spend time getting ready and spend time preparing for all these. You know, the whole time you're at home and things are easily accessible, you can just get stuff done easier than when you get home and say, okay, now I got to sweep. I'm exhausted. I don't feel like doing shit.
right.
So people
Because you need
get,
that decompression. You know,
yeah,
like you said, you got to travel, you got to break your sleep and travel to get there. And then you at a disadvantage all day. And then you got traffic. And then when you get home, you're gonna need a couple hours just to get their cave energy off you. You know
you
what I
have to
mean? You
wipe
gotta
that filthy
unwind.
cave energy off.
Yep. So yeah, it's a 100% psychological screw that they're putting you through by being and at this point, it's just something that we also saw with cannabis. They don't have to make the decision that's morally right. All they got to do is follow the money, and that's when all of our interests begin to converge. When the things that are better for us becomes the things that have monetary incentive attached to them. So
Yeah.
it's good for us that marijuana is getting cannabis is getting legalized, and it's also good for all these companies. The same people who were betting on private prisons and all that other shit, now they're seeing a whole new stream of revenue in the opposite direction. So the laws are changing, and that helps us. So the same thing with this,
Yes.
they're going to see the revenue getting freed up, getting rid of these buildings, and what it does. That's going to change the landscape, the actual physical landscape of metro areas. That's going to change the cost of real estate. That's going to change everything is going to fluctuate because of that. And they don't have to make a choice that's good for us. They don't have to say, well, it's better that people are home or it's better. They could be more productive. All they got to do is follow the money. We could save millions of dollars a year by just getting rid of this building and streamlining our whole process so they can work from home. It's the greediest thing for them to do, but it's also the best possible thing for humanity at this point.
Yeah.
That's how we get the progress when those two things start to converge. Because as long as the money's going in the opposite direction from human progress, like real progress for humans, not progress for generating revenue and building bombs that's gonna blow shit up, but real people progress. If it doesn't have monetary incentive, we're screwed.
And what creates the monetary incentive is culture. What the
Yeah. Yep.
consumer demands are. And
Yep.
so when because there's no longer a demand for prisoners, yeah, private prisons, you have to move the money. because more and more you're seeing a push to release people, and some of these people don't need to be released; they need to be sent to Violence Island. That's the real thing. There's been a few reoffenders, but in general, if it's non-violent criminals, yeah, get them out of prison.
Yeah. I
Get
think
find
Elon can
something
help us out
productive
with
to
that
do.
too. I think Elon will be down with Violence Island.
Not only would Elon be down for Violence Island, he would actually be able to fund it.
Yeah,
He would
yeah.
be able to single-handedly fund it without a problem.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. That's one thing I said I was gonna do that I've neglected to do because I've been working on some other stuff. But I'm gonna prioritize crafting out the pitch. We just need a fancy name for it, like something that communicates like new culture. It's like Noah's Ark. It's some sort of salvation. It's the poor man's escape pod. Something that's branded and pitched. Definitely lean on people's desire to hate white supremacy, like definitely branded and presented as the cultural antithesis to white supremacy. Like, this is how you end white supremacy. You
Right.
start an eco-friendly factory and a little bit of a self-sustained hippie commune where you practice permaculture, so you're not depleting the nutrients from the soil, and you're interacting with the world and delivering a product that is needed but is as minimally as minimalistically destructive as possible. And this needs to be the priorities of the future. And this is how we can get it started. And Kanye, as soon as Elon's on board, Kanye will be on board. I read that he became the richest black man in the history of America.
Wow.
$6.6 billion net worth. Which,
Unbelievable. That's
bravo.
amazing.
And
Absolutely.
and he's a verifiable crazy person.
Well, that
He's
that's how
no,
you get that
he's
kind of money.
maybe that's a part of it, but there's nobody has an excuse. All he did was be really good at making beats. That's what Kanye did, and that was the starting point from which he amassed a wealth of 6.6 billion. He didn't sacrifice his mom to the Illuminati. He didn't eat any babies with any senators. He got a couple $1,000,000 and he figured out where to put the money in intelligent ways. And he wasn't trying just to keep making songs, even though Kanye is one of the old school, well, he's technically new school, but older school in the sense that he was, in that vein of backpack rap. He was in
Right.
the 2000s, but he was 90s at the heart of what he was doing. And he's still relevant. Very few artists that have been in the game that long can say that they're still relevant, that they're still making anything that anybody cares about.
Yeah,
And
that's
maybe
true.
he's not as relevant as he was, but he didn't rely on. So even though he didn't prioritize his music, he's still somewhat relevant. But he got into fashion. He got into those stupid sneakers that people seem to love. But he leveraged his notoriety and he got into things that he knew about, and he was wildly successful, and he made $6.6 billion again as a certifiable crazy person.
Right. This is the
Certifiable.
benefit. This is the benefit to getting high on your own supply. Period. That's what if he showed us nothing else, he
Yes.
showed us believe your own hype above all else. Believe your own hype. Now, how far you want to take that is, you got to have some context. Only you know how far is too far, what's cool versus what's cringy. That's you got to come up with that and figure that out on your own. But for the most part, just believe your own hype. He didn't give a shit what nobody was saying about his rapping skills, about the shape of his sneakers, whether or not they look like anti-gravity moon boots or any of that. He didn't give a shit. He said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it," and he was convinced. So other people were convinced.
Yes.
That's just how you move with shit these days. And like I said, that goes back to why there's no argument about why we should be starting cult villages and farming cash crops and intellectual properties. There's nothing to talk about. If you don't think this is the way, then you're behind the curve and we'll meet you there. Period.
We'll see you when you get there, and we'll welcome you with open arms.
Right.
We won't even be salty that you were the naysayer. That's fine.
No, we let you right in. I'm gonna assign some jobs for you. Just let you right in. We need some help over here by the hay barn. So just, Let's get to work. Let's make it happen. It's,
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful day.
6.6 billion
I
billion
love it, bro.
dollars.
I love it. It's and not to minimize his efforts or anything like that, but I just feel like it's shit like that is doable. It's so much more doable than people understand. The business of scaling and growing opportunities and shit like that is pretty much not the same for everybody, but the potential exists for almost anything that you could possibly be doing. Whatever it is that you have some type of emotional euphoria from partaking in, as long as it's legal and shit, whatever that is, you can probably create a revenue stream and a pool of support from people that you had no idea was possible if you apply the same principles that we're talking about. Is, being, of course, being diligent and sticking to it and creating when you're supposed to. If it's a whole lot of work that goes into it, but if you stay focused on your shit and you getting high on your own supply, eventually it seems like the tide shift from people being naysayers to people just being like, no, I told you, I was onto this shit before it was cool. I knew about this before any of y'all knew about it. Like, it just, the consciousness of it just shifts. Even if the people are laughing at it, even if they think they're trolling you, they're like, oh, listen to this guy's music is so terrible. They'll fuck around and make you rich because they think you suck. If you play it the right way.
And I can't believe anybody like Kanye for a while was like one of the most bit rappers. I don't know who started. I know there was a couple times, and I don't know if he borrowed it from Jay-Z or Jay-Z borrowed it from him, but that like super stressed emphasis on his the end of his bars, there was a while where a lot of people were emulating that.
Yeah.
So for as much of it, people saying, you can't rap, um, a lot of great people emulated his style of doing things. And you're absolutely right. Smelling your own shit and thinking it's the greatest thing ever. He definitely had that in spades. And as much as you could say it's arrogant, it's annoying, what conceit, what audacity, any of the kind of negative connotation that you could put to it and all of the criticisms you could level against him, obviously it works because he's worth $6.6 billion. There's
Perfect.
there's there's nothing left to talk about. So if you think it's a bad move or you want to there's absolutely nothing you can criticize about Kanye until you have $6.7 billion. Then
Right.
your opinion matters to me. And
Right.
I can also say what a great example of extracting from the system to build his own shit because he's got a fucking whole factory and compound out in Wyoming. So while everybody was Donald Trump's going to save the world, he's going to bring all the jobs back to America. The CIA made sure he was gone. He doesn't matter anymore, right? So what couldn't be done with the reins of power? What couldn't be done with government and trying to force businesses to get on board? Having a vision. Kanye brought manufacturing to America more so than probably any other individual possibly has done. He
Right.
went and just built a whole factory. We're going to make this shit here. We're going to have 20, $25 an hour jobs for people to make these shoes. That's what I'm going to do. And who else has had the ability to do that? And not much negativity on his heat signature as far as how he made his money.
Right.
Because I'm not saying all of Kanye's shit is filled with positivity. There's a lot of positivity in there. There's a lot of ignorant dumb shit too, but there's not a lot of indiscriminate murderous violence
Right.
in
Yeah.
Kanye music.
You
At
need the goofy
most,
shit.
right. At
You need it.
most, it is some I have too much money and I'm gonna do dumb shit with it shenanigans. At
Right.
worst, but it's not a whole bunch of negative shit. He might have been the first rapper ever to describe himself on record as insecure.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know anybody else that came into it with that level of vulnerability and honesty in his music and wasn't like laughed off as just being horribly soft and corny, you know?
Yeah. They tried. He just wasn't listening.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck. So yeah, I like that. See, I think you need just as much as you need sound pillars
Yes.
to of you know what I mean. You also need Larry Mandel. You need both parts. You need some wild, over the top, left field shit to grab those people, and then you need some, some sound, real body politics shit for the
He needs
people
a
who are
song.
listening.
There needs I
Yeah,
just
that's
feel like
true.
he needs a song. He needs to have merchandise. Like
Yeah, I feel like he needs a one of those open and introduction soundtracks, like a Shaft song or something like that.
yes.
He needs a Shaft song. Larry Mandel, tossed in time.
Yo,
Yeah,
best
yeah.
title ever.
Yeah, Tossed in Time
It's
might
magic.
be, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. At least for the first book. For the first book, Tossed in Time is amazing. And then once people realize what the connection is, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I get it. I see what you did there." Yeah, we're gonna have to call these guys up. We might need to collab with the guys from the In Hot Water podcast to see if they got any more human depravity we can farm to
Oh,
create characters from.
it's nonstop, man. It's non. It's like I said, man. I didn't pride myself on it, but it was something that I could say sincerely, like, no, I've never seen gay porn. And I was able to say that for my entire life until I saw their podcast. And I didn't even realize that it was so subtle. Like, oh, they're just showing some goofy shit. I'm like, no, I've seen full on hardcore man pounding action now that I never previous to this went and looked for or thought that I think one of them dudes has got to be secretly gay and maybe it just hasn't come to terms with it yet. Because there's no way you can have that much gay porn as a constant theme
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
no, no,
without at some point it's like no, he actually does have a great ass. That's that
no,
he's really working it. At some point you got to be admiring it.
no. He's definitely grooming his co-host.
Yes, that's all.
What?
Eventually they're gonna move in together. They're gonna
Oh
get
yeah,
married. And he
yeah,
never even saw. He's
absolutely.
like, I thought I was just making jokes. And every
Yeah,
once in a while we show some gay porn because it's goofy and funny. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Keep watching it. Goofy and funny. Yeah, that's all I want you to keep doing.
I dare you to love me for the rest of your life. Start playing the game of I dare you. Yeah, who knows where it'll take you, buddy. But I ain't mad
Dare
at
you to
They have
watch
it.
this gay porn.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, they halfway there, bro.
Yeah,
They
that
halfway there. Somebody's getting groomed. Either one of them or both of them is getting groomed. They might be grooming each other and just don't know it.
dude, just yeah.
I'm in
They
full
got
support of them. Love is love. They have my full support.
That's it. You get home, you got to get the cave energy off of you. You got somebody else's cave on you.
You know,
Their
somebody
dog,
else's cave stench.
right? One of your 700 diseased breeds has got the hair all over me. It's just like come home, I got to deflate. Got to deflate.
That's it, dude. I'm telling you, the caves are obsolete. The caves are obsolete. So yeah, we can't let them turn this into a fucking ice planet. Force
Yeah.
them to leave. Force them to go to Mars. The less the more we unplug, the faster they'll go to Mars.
Oh, dude, that's another great mock campaign that we need to get the ball rolling on. To feed into 4chan, make logos for it, really push it, come up with fictitious like leaders. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's an outspoken global warming activist. Oh, he's against global warming? No, no. He's pro global warming. He wants all the white people to move to Mars. He wants to make it as hot as fucking possible because he knows you guys can't stand it and you get skin cancer. So he's pro global warming. He sees the trickery of white supremacy being anti global warming. And also, I think we just need to create a whole Yakubian culture of slang.
Yeah.
Yeah, buildings, caves,
And
stacked
caves.
caves.
Yeah.
I just came home from the cave. I got to deflate from all the cave conditioning and fucking 700 diseased breed dog hair. I got to get it off.
Just you got a pet 700?
Yeah, that's like
You got a
you know
pet
they
700 over there?
call them
It's
700 diseases.
Like
Yeah.
instead of the people being the dumb, the blind, deaf, and dumb being the 5%ers, the 700s of the friggin' diseased animals that they keep in their caves. I love it. Yeah, I guarantee we could come up with a whole lexicon for the Yakubian folklore, and it's shit that would probably catch on if we used it casually enough. It would latch itself on because it's already perfect. I think the world is ripe to hear about it. We just need we need like a four-pronged campaign. That Mars is for white supremacists kind of shit. Like just a whole campaign. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mars is for white supremacists. That's where they go. We're not leaving. Y'all go to Mars. We keeping Earth.
and and it, and
Pro
it, and not only is it right for the because there's already a theory that white people are aliens and it came here, and black people were the original people of Earth. I had somebody try to break this theory down for me a couple of years ago, but I know it's in circulation. It's catching on a little more so because that wasn't the only person that told me that. But yeah, white people are aliens. So white people are aliens, and so this can absolutely be expanded upon with this narrative of why are they trying to go to Mars? They're just trying to get back. 66 trillion years ago, white
hmm
alien people landed here and got the ball rolling on this and got everybody to agree to, get into caves and mouth kiss 700s. And the whole plan about building these nations and technology and all this, he, came left and started building cities. It was just so that they could advance technology enough to get back to the sophisticated level of advanced technology they had when they landed here so they could get back to Mars. That was always the plan. And they didn't want the planet to get too hot so that they would be uncomfortable until they had the rockets necessary to get back home to Mars. You could put that out there as a theory being manifested right before your eyes, and you could cite sources. I forget, I think it was on Teach the Children, where Rakim was like talking about Total Recall. They got rockets, you get it, we fall. Something about they're trying to build spaceships to leave.
Right,
You
right.
you could be like, yo, it's always been there, and you saw the movie Total Recall. What was that, brother? That was predictive programming. They were
Yeah.
showing you they've always
Mission to
been trying to get
Mars.
back home.
It's a
Yes.
few of them like that, and I think the only slight tweak, we can't just have white people landing here. That gives them too much technological advancement. That's just gonna like empower the Nazis. Like, well, we were space travelers, so we need the original aliens to be black, and then that's where Yakub comes in, is he grafts out the white man because he's so angry at his neighbors and shit like that. It takes him 6,000 years to create the white man. So we can't just have him land here as white folks. That's not good. That's not good for the narrative.
Well, it's not my crackpot conspiracy theory. It was given to me by a black man, so I thought it was safe.
Yeah,
I thought it
he's
was
got to
safe.
we got to refine that. We can't just have white folks arriving in ships. That's
But
not that's never been good.
well, the Nazis were into that occult shit, and supposedly they were given knowledge from beyond, and technically they did come up with the rockets. So I don't know. I
Hey,
don't know.
anything's possible. They definitely act like they don't got to be here though.
We I don't know. I think we can just give it to them. I think we can give them the spaceship shit. I don't know. I don't know if it's
Maybe
if
we just
it's
it's
gonna
gonna be
count.
need some further review. We got to
Well,
make sure if it gets them to Mars faster, let them have it.
we'll put it before the council to see if it's too racist or not racist enough. We
Right, we'll
want to
tweak
have
it.
we want to have racist equilibrium.
Right,
But
right,
but
right.
I think as a part of a mythological narrative, it makes more sense of why there's this compulsion to get back to Mars, and that everything white supremacy has ever done in the history of the world, like it makes sense that it's been leading up to this moment of eventually being able to escape. So like, why did you create all this human misery and why was all these wars and da da da? It was just one small step towards being able to get to rocket ships. That's all it ever was. I
Right.
apologize for the horrific fallout. My bad. But we'll be on our way now. Thanks for not making the planet too hot in the meantime.
We just got to make sure that all of us collectively, we have to make sure they think they're leaving us. They can't think we're letting them go willingly. We got to make them think they're leaving us. Like we got to be mad about it and shit. And be
Oh,
like,
please don't
yeah,
go.
yeah, please don't go until they take
Please
off.
don't go.
Until they all take off, and then we all just look around slowly and start partying like fucking,
Oof. Sigh
like
of relief.
yeah, like in the Matrix, partying in Zion and shit. Everybody just they just have a big planet wide rave when all the white supremacists leave. That's amazing. I love it. That's the best and objectively better world. Mars is for white supremacists from now on.
Listen, it there's nothing I can say in my head that makes it not make sense.
Yeah, it's
That's
actually
how
perfect.
accurate it is. The anti-global warming, the we gotta go to Mars, and this is the genius of this work we've endeavored on, is we haphazardly meander through all of this information, and then somehow we just trip over these profound, undeniable, truthy, if not true, theories about how the world works.
Right. It's,
It sounds more than plausible. It sounds
yeah.
more than plausible.
A vote against uh, a vote against global warming is a vote for white supremacy. I was just trying to figure out all the ways you could piss off the Green Party just instantly when you're walking around Whole Foods and you got a shirt on that says pro global warming. I
I
love it.
can't believe that no one has ever brought that up. As much as there's this political alliance between the black community and far left politics like that are all about, the Green New Deal and all of that. I can't believe that nobody pointed out, like, so we want the world less like Africa and more like the caves of Europe. Okay, I'm totally behind that.
Very sneaky.
Hmm.
Very sneaky. But the jig is up now, no pun intended. The jig is up. We got you now, boy. We got you now. Raise your carbon footprint immediately.
Yeah, listen, raise your fist in the air and your carbon footprint into the atmosphere. Raise it. Raise it high and
Oh,
mighty.
we need counter propaganda so bad. We need pro global warming counter propaganda. Yeah, instead of just say, see, that's what it is. You can't just say global warming is a hoax. That's not good enough. You got to be like, no, we have to make global warming happen faster. This is how we save the planet.
Oh, dude, what
We
about
gotta we
dog
gotta give it
genocide?
a we gotta give it a fever.
We gotta we gotta come up with something that is like, because it could be offensive for so many reasons. It's offensive because they do eat dogs in China, but we can attach that to some agenda that's against white supremacy, that is concluded that dogs have to be wiped off the planet.
Yeah,
There
I'm with it.
must there must be a dog cleansing. These are genetic catastrophes that we bred 700 diseases in, and that point's got to keep being driven home.
Yeah, the
We have
700.
700 that, and when Pat Robertson got on TV and started the 700 Club, that's what he was talking
Oh,
about.
there. That's what he was talking about.
White supremacy.
Yeah, see, dogs uphold white supremacy.
Right. And really, that's where like how serial killers practice killing on pets first. Um Eugenicists and white supremacists, they start with dogs first. Let's see what we can do to just tweak the DNA of the dogs first. And we
Right.
get really good at it, then we'll begin the cleansing. Then we'll begin the cleansing on the humans. But let's just
Yeah.
start with dogs first. The 700 Club.
You got to get rid of them. They got to take them off of here. You got to take them off of here, man.
Let me get mine first.
So we got okay. So this week's agenda is to raise your carbon footprint, find a way to promote pro global warming propaganda, and let the world know that dogs uphold white supremacy. Oh, and Mars is for white supremacists also, which
Oh,
might be the title of this episode. Mars is for white supremacists.
I I look forward to going somewhere on YouTube next week and seeing a black woman standing outside just spraying hairspray directly into the atmosphere screaming, "Fuck whitey, fuck white people." Make
Oh,
this
that is
shit
such a
hot.
beautiful image.
Just spraying it like akimbo style,
Make
both
this bitch
guns,
hot.
just spraying it into the air.
So hot and so hot in her.
Please, Lord, just get rid of these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Hip hop has been telling us for all these years, secretly, all these fire references. We on fire tonight. It's getting hot in here. The roof is on fire. Everything, all of it.
Oh
They've been telling us
shit!
all this time. We just
It's
haven't been listening with the right ears.
dude, you didn't. Nobody gave me the secret handshake. I wasn't in on it. There's some secret Illuminati type hip hop masonry going on, where they're hidden it in there. That it's hidden in the allegories. It's in there. If you read between the lines, we're telling you, yo, raise the carbon footprint. Make this motherfucker hot to death. Hot to death.
Oh, is that what all the materialism is about in hip hop? Is people just consumption and all of this shit that leads to
Right.
factories and this is their way
Listen,
of raising the carbon footprint.
if I wear all this Gucci, the smoke from the smokestack gets thicker.
Oh,
We
that's why we
need
drive
all this other.
Hummers. These things are
Yes.
terrible on gas mileage. We gotta get this planet heated up, my G. Oh, I love it. Hip hop has been trying to save the world all this time.
This whole time has been telling you to set some shit on fire because that's gonna fuck up the ozone for these translucent aliens that have been
Oh,
desperately trying to get back to Mars at the direction of Yakub.
and they got us like recycling and doing all this stuff to try to
Hmm.
like we gotta force them out. We gotta go the whole
Right.
opposite way.
And you
We
go
gotta
to the
force
hood,
them
it's like I ain't fucking recycling this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna throw this shit right on the fucking ground
out.
and hope
Right.
it emits some O2 into the atmosphere, or CO2, or whatever the fuck's gonna get rid of you guys.
And they were ahead of the curve and they're creating jobs.
Right.
We got the street
Right.
cleaners, all the street sweepers, all that shit. Yeah, they've been ahead of the curve this whole time. See, they
Yeah,
had
and
us
those
thinking we were behind, and you actually progressive with the new world thinking without even knowing it. See?
listen, and the street sweepers, they're not running off a solar or electric.
Oh no, buddy.
They're
That's
shooting
straight
out some
diesel.
heavy duty fumes.
That's straight diesel right there, B. We gotta warm this motherfucker up, son.
Getting private jets. Yep, getting a yacht. Just put that fuel in the atmosphere.
Mm,
Yo, smart.
it
Smart.
is. It really is. That'll get him out of here, bro. We got to get him out of here. Pro global warming from here on out.
Absolutely.
I'm pro. Get a bumper sticker that says I'm pro global warming. Ask me how, or ask me why. Ask me about how to become pro global warming. Just
That
reverse
would
the whole
just
shit.
oh, and you know what would be even better is like you put out a fake ad about all the people that are down with pro global warming shit, and you just straight take hip hop lyrics out of context. Like Busta Rhymes is down with it, Nelly's down with it.
Any song with a fire reference or a heat reference, all of that. We go, yeah. I see it being like one of them old 70s, one of those old 70s commercials. A black dude with a very finely tuned afro, and he's bringing you all the new information about why global warming might be for you. I know what they told you about global warming, but let me give you the real scoop. Yeah, he's just using all this jive language and shit to tell you what's really happening. Yeah. If you really want to get Whitey off your back,
First, you got
get
to get him off your planet, brother.
yeah. If you really want to get Whitey off your back, get him off your planet. Yeah, yeah. Raise
And
the
it's called
temperature.
Mars, the god of war. It all makes sense.
Yeah, that's where the guy. That's where he lives. That's where we're gonna send the warlike, disagreeable, six ether abomination. Allegedly, that's what according to the
Allegedly.
Yakubian folklore.
We don't
Allegedly.
know for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm not positive. The jury's still out, but yeah, I think it's safe to say, yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. I think we fit. We've been sort of fixing a lot of the world's problems especially in the last few weeks. We've been stumbling onto some really important shit, and I think being pro global warming might be one of them.
Yeah, I'm running with it. I'm gonna add that into the repertoire. I'm gonna keep calling people Jerry's. I'm not calling buildings anything other. Oh, it's gonna be the cave up there on the left. I'm referring to everything as caves, and I'm calling dogs 700s.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Did you put your 700 on a leash? What?
700 genetic diseases. You didn't know about that?
You eugenicist breeder of 700 diseases?
And you probably kissed that pillar of white supremacy in the mouth, don't you?
Get back to Mars.
Yeah, hurry up and get back. Oh, dude, listen. Okay, yeah, this is about to
Go
get
back to
serious.
Mars movement? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, yes, yes. Go back to Mars and just say it matter of factly and leave no room for debate.
No
Leave no room
follow-up
for debate.
questions,
Why
no
don't you go
further
back to Mars,
explanation.
Karen? They'll be like, what? What did you say? Go back to Mars, Karen. I love it, dude. From now on, yeah, you should. They all clam chowder complected people when they've been committing any type of infraction should be told to go back to Mars immediately.
Go back to Mars, Karen.
And that
Please.
ends the conversation. Just so anybody who wields that, just so you know, go back to Mars is the period. There's no comma after that. There's no what do you mean? No, you say go back to Mars and you walk away. You
And no
automatically finish.
violence. And this doesn't mean you have to harbor hatred in your heart. None of those negativities. No, you can leave. Let's transcend all of that. But it
Yeah.
is still absolutely appropriate and undeniably clever and hilarious to simply shout at random white people or clam chowder or cream of mushroom, however we're defining it. It's incidental. It doesn't matter. But should it come up, should the opportunity present itself, and you have to have a minor altercation with someone, it is undeniably hilarious, and I would strongly say indisputably appropriate to tell that person to return to Mars. Go back to Mars. Call up Elon, ask him when the rocket's going to be ready, and go back to Mars.
That is so good, dude.
Stop
That is
trying
so
to
good.
stop trying to turn this planet into a cave, Karen.
Right? It's not
I
racist.
like it hot, bitch. I like
It's
it hot.
it's perfect. It's not racist. It's not like vulgar. It's not necessarily derogatory. You just tell them go back to Mars.
It's
That
all
is it's perfect.
it's only racist and insulting if you're actually aware of the mythology we crafted here, and chances are most people are not. So
Right.
therefore, it is not.
Right. If you don't know, well, you're gonna admit that you're a Martian, and then what do you say after that? I am gonna go
Then the
back to
jig is
Mars.
up.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, how did you know? We
Yeah. You
don't let
just did
any of
all the
you
work
into the
for it.
lodges. How did you figure it out?
I love it, dude. Go back to Mars. That shit is so goofy, but it sounds so disrespectful at the same time. It sounds like it's got some real validity. Like you really sending somebody off the planet. Go back to Mars and go back, assuming that that's what you know.
Right,
It's
right,
so good. It's so good.
right.
That's perfect. That's my new that yeah. That's my new favorite insult for clam chowder complected people is go back to Mars, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair. I can't wait until I see a YouTube video of compilation of white people being told to go back to Mars. I'm sorry if I'm finding joy in this troll, but it's hilarious to me, and I want to see some videos of people being told to go back to Mars, just so I can see what their face looks like when the confusion lands on them.
I think it'll be moderately hilarious, but my the coup de grace for me is definitely the lady standing outside screaming
Yeah,
deranged obscenities towards white people and just maliciously spraying cans of hairspray directly into the atmosphere.
yeah,
Like she sees the direct correlation between akimboing two cans of hairspray directly into the atmosphere and the evacuation of white people back to Mars.
I love it.
That would bring me a level of joy and hearty bellowing laughter that I can only speculate on how powerful it would be. But I want to see that happen. And if it doesn't happen organically at some point in this journey to $6.7 billion, um, I will fund it myself.
Oh,
I
it's gonna happen.
It will be a scene in a movie. It'll be a skit. It will be something. Even if I got to put together the funding for like $80,000 to get a film crew and shoot a fake pro global warming propaganda video. If I have to single handedly do it myself, I will make sure that's happening. I want to
Yeah,
see that woman spraying the 2 cans of hairspray.
it's happening. I can already see it. It's
Oh,
happening. It's happening. I've already decided Weeble is going to give us enough money to buy back our time so we can start really investing in the intellectual properties. That's it right there. That's going to be it right there. That space between South Park and Adult Swim, like I feel like there's a gap in there that we can wiggle ourselves into and lay some roots down. So Weeble is going to have to just the market's going to have to get its shit together and get us some 300-400% returns, repeatedly in close succession, so we can get to farming these intellectual properties. Unless we have some benefactors who've been listening to the show, I'm sure we got some people who are listening to the show who might be moved spiritually to tithe some energy into our endeavors. And I like to say, not only is it greatly appreciated, it's also required of any initiates that would like this. That's one of the first things that you're going to have to do is relinquish the connection that you have to the white supremacist notes. Release them and watch us transmute them and build something beautiful.
word.
That's the
Word.
agenda.
Absolutely. Dude, one last thing before we wrap it up. Um, are you trading options yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Dude, I feel like such an idiot. Um, One of my friends called me the other day because I had fucked with a little bit, but I always thought it had to hit the strike price before you could exercise it and you can make money off of it. No, you can just sell the derivative before it hits there. So any movement, you could potentially make money. It was absolutely a game changer for me. I'm like, I can't believe I haven't been trading options this whole time.
Mm.
They
So
make it overly
does it matter either
complicated for me.
way? Like, which way would you feel more comfortable in trading, or is it pretty much the same to you?
So especially because I heard some people talking about like the Dow's going to get down to 4,000, all the bubbles are going to burst. It's going to be absolutely awful. So I'm probably going to move some to cash, but people are always saying some shit like that. So I don't know. I don't know, but I do feel like we're overdue for a crash, but maybe because the new economy is so heavy with global money that it may not necessarily get to that. I don't know. But the thing with options is my long-term positions, I'm going to hold them long term till they hit their price target. So I'm not worried. If it takes 5 years instead of 6 months, I don't care. I like the companies. I'm going to stick with them regardless. And I think they'll end up being profitable, even if it's 10 years, whatever. It doesn't matter to
So,
me. But options, um, the downside is once the money's gone, the money's gone. So, like, if you buy a shit stock and it tanks, you may eventually get your money back over years once the market goes up, right? You could potentially get your money back if the stock goes down. When you buy an option, you're limiting your downside because whatever you pay for it is the absolute amount of money that you will lose. That's it.
right, right.
So you can't lose more than that. So if you spend $1,000 on an option, most money you can lose is 1,000. That's your threshold of loss. But what you could make, this one of my friends I talk with that does this kind of shit, he made like um well, no, I'm sorry. He didn't make. Another person that he talks to about stocks was doing. He showed him the trade for a an option he bought. I think I told you this. It was like for like a penny or two, and it ended up going up to like $40 a share or something, or some not $40. I forget what it was. It went up to $4. $4 was what it was. So it's trading for a couple pennies, And then eventually the option was worth $4. He made something stupid like 40 grand off this one option trade. And a lot of these option swings, like it's in a couple of days that
Right.
you're either
Yeah.
going to get the swing or not. And some of them can be big. So I was thinking, okay, if I buy this option and the strike price is $125 for a call, I don't make any money until after it goes over 125. So I would fuck up, and that's why I stopped doing it, because I'm like, oh, it didn't get up to the 125, so I just lost it because it expired before it went up over that. But I could have sold it once it got over 125, and then I would have made the difference in the
Right.
price when it went above. No, you're a fucking dummy. I'm a dummy. So it don't have to get to 125. If you buy it for 125 and the option is like 40 cents for per contract, right? So you buy um so at 40 cents I think would be like what, $40, because
Yeah.
you have to buy 100.
100. Yeah.
So you buy a contract for $400, um and let's say it's at $90, but then while you're holding it, it goes up to $98. Now, what was like 40 cents is up to $1.25. Now, I was thinking, oh, but it's not at $125, so there's nothing I can do. Bullshit. You just sell the option. You just sell the derivative. It doesn't have to get to the strike price for you to exercise the option. You can just trade in the derivative. So now what you bought for 40 cents is now worth $1.25. You tripled your money. Take your money and leave.
Right.
What
Right.
the
Right.
fuck are you hanging out for?
And somebody else can still hold it and try to squeeze it to. But yeah, but
Yes.
you already in and out. That makes
Yep.
perfect sense. That makes
Yep.
perfect sense. I'm gonna look a little bit more into it because I've definitely been interested in it, but I know that it's a lot more of a downside to one end where, like I said, you can lose a lot more than what you put up versus on the other side where you can only lose what the contract costs. So it's definitely worth it, at least on that side, to get familiar with the game.
Yeah. Yep. And I've lost enough money where it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. And I mean like lost enough money like since I started doing it. So I
Right.
think about all the times where like I bought a stock and it went down and I didn't get out at the right time, or I didn't hold it long enough till it recovered, dumb rookie mistakes. And I'm like, shit, for those that amount of learning cost, I mean, with options, you're actually risking like I think about the money that I put up in risk since I've been doing it, like you're really putting up way less money as risk. Like I'm looking at it like, yeah, but I may not get my $600 back. Like you never lost $600 before? Like,
Right.
come on, stop being a bitch. Just
And so
put it
much
up.
more to win on the upside.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
called me. He was like, dude, I put in, because I think he said he bought something where it was like he had put up like 300 or 400 bucks. It was like 40 cents or whatever. And then it got up over to a buck. Right. And he's like, I ended up netting like $1,500 in 2 or 3 days. Like, and I only put up 400 to make that 1,500. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I haven't gotten anything like that quick, that consistently with the stock. And he called me up and he's like, yo, I feel like the dude that invented crack or discovered crack. He's like, it's like, I'm like, well, that's a very fucked up way to put it, but I get what you mean. He's like, dude, if I'd have known this, I'd have been trading options way earlier. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. And he explained it to
Man.
me, and I was like, yeah, I had the same fucking dumb understanding of it as well, that you had to keep it until the strike price. He's like, nah, they just make that shit sound needlessly complicated. It's way simpler. Just fucking sell it as soon as it has a swing. That's it.
Hmm.
Just jump in
That's
and out, take the swing, and get the fuck out. Especially if you know that there's something coming up, like an earnings
right.
report or
Right.
something, and there's
The
something
rumors.
right, or an FDA approval that's maybe coming. Even if the FDA approval doesn't come, who gives a fuck? There's speculation about it, so it's probably going to act as a catalyst to shoot it up, and that's what you're basing your option on. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Just for that. I don't know, man.
It
I don't
makes
know. It was
perfect
pretty
sense.
exciting.
I'm outgrowing my rookie mistakes right now. I made I had one. I don't know if I might have mentioned it to you a while back. I picked one that was making visual prosthetics. and I got it when it was $1 and some change. It got up to three something, and it was kind of floundering. I wanted more from it. I thought it, I was waiting for it, but I just kind of got impatient because I wanted the capital back to do some other shit. So I got rid of it. It wasn't a huge return, but I was still in the green. I went back through my watch list the other day. That shit's at $15 right now.
Mm.
$15, bro. And a lot of stuff that I picked back then has gone. It's just time. It just takes more time than you give yourself at the beginning because you're like, oh, I want to hack this. I want to make some big plays and shit. But it just takes time. If I would have just sat on it and stopped watching those numbers fluctuate, it would have hit $15 and I'd have been happy. And it wasn't even that long ago. I got rid of it a month ago or so. And it was like, fuck, dude. And it just jumped up all in one day. And it's maintained 15 ever since.
Oh yeah, that might be its new baseline price.
Right, right. I thought so because I was waiting on it. I spotted it. I read all of all the research. I was feeling good about it, but I didn't. It didn't pop fast enough, so I got rid of it. But yeah, rookie mistakes. Rookie mistakes. You shake them off and you keep moving.
Yep, and there's always those times where it's like, okay, I just got to inject new capital. Like
Yeah,
right now, I told you I never use my margin account, and the fucking first time I used it in like 2 years, the market took a shit. So
yeah,
thankfully, it recovered enough that I'm not going to owe thousands of fucking dollars or be forced to sell anything.
right.
Um, but that NNDMN, I went heavy into that and Palantir. And yo, when NNDM got down to like under $7, I was like, holy fuck. Cause I got like well over 1,000 shares. So that shit hurt. I'm like, fuck. And I bought some of this shit on margin. This shit has
Mm,
gotta recover. And it's back to like it got back into the 11s. So I'm back in the green a little bit. But when the market took a shit, I recovered since then. I got like a little over 50% of my gains back. But for that couple of days, it was crazy. And it felt good in a way too because I lost tens of thousands of dollars. I don't want to get into too many specifics. It's a lot of money, but it was all of my profits. And technically, I was still ahead. So even with that hit and losing a huge amount of money, for me, it's huge. I know for other people, it ain't shit. But for me, it was a huge amount of money. I didn't panic sell. I held on, and now I made over half of those profits back. But it felt good to be like, man, I lost more money than in some years I even made in a year, and
right.
I'm cool with it. And I'm still in the green. Like I just lost some profits. That shit felt good. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm moving in the right direction, and I didn't panic like a bitch and panic sell, and I made most of it back. So I
that's
got to keep
awesome.
holding on. But
That's awesome.
it's one of those things where I'm in all of these things that I really know are going to be good. Like I told you, like I'm real strong on resin. I'm real strong on Bellis. I think those are going to be. So I'm holding. I got thousands and thousands of shares. I'm not selling, but I do want to look for new opportunities. So it's like, okay, I need to start tightening my belt and start putting some money away so I can get a new, little chunk of cash to play with. Because I don't know how, I know there's going to be a lot of opportunities because the market's probably going to be really volatile this year, but I don't want to make that mistake either because I've done that shit before. Let me free up some capital because this shit ain't doing nothing. And every time I think about doing
Yeah,
that shit, I look at fucking Novaks. I look at Novaks and I contemplate hanging myself and I hate my life just enough so that I never make that mistake again.
yeah.
So whatever that was, that prosthetic shit, yeah, just have that in your head as like the reminder. Like
Oh
never
yeah.
like, never again.
Patience.
That's my
Patience.
Holocaust. Was losing was losing the opportunity to turn $1,400 to 60 grand. Never
Yeah,
again.
that
Never
$15
again.
stock. This is my holocaust. Yeah, that it'll remind you, bro. That shit'll stick in your head. Like I said, it's just telling me patience. Just let it play out a little bit longer. Let the game run its course, and just stay in there. I got in on IDEX probably a little bit too early, but it's still bubbling. It's recovering pretty nicely, so I'm looking forward to that one. I still holding on Caster too. I got big hopes on that one. You know what I mean? I took a little bit out, but I still got a pretty nice chunk in there chilling.
Well,
So
let,
yeah,
well,
man, we'll
let,
see how it goes, man. I'm in it. So I'm in it for the long haul.
yeah, that's that. Like I said, it's always good. Take profits on a half or 2/3, however your system is or whatever you're comfortable with. But yeah, I definitely regret not taking profits from this next dip. I look at my account, I'm like, yo, this shit was so much bigger. Come on, bitch, give me all of my money back. I
Yeah.
need NNDMM to get over 20. I need Palantir to get to its 50. I got some that IDEX. Yeah, I think I might sell 2/3 of my shares once it gets up to 6, because it's one of those things where it's super flaky. Like they got their hands into everything, but I kind of like that they're doing that. You know what I
Right.
mean? But I don't know if it'll translate into a profitable business model. But I saw one of their products is like a charger that's contactless,
Right.
which sounds like you just drive over it. And so like with the that's one of the things I saw. I forget which video I was watching, but a person was like, yo, everybody's on this 5G shit, right? Instead of looking for the companies that's going to be the big 5G company, or the EV company that's going to be the EV company. Who gives a fuck who wins the EV wars, right? What's going to be the most profitable electric vehicle? They all have to charge. If
Right.
somebody's got like a big market share or a big swath or anything in that technology that may be useful, it doesn't matter who the most prominent electric car vehicle manufacturer is. It's going to be who has that infrastructure established. I'm like, you know what? That makes tremendous fucking sense.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And
Oh,
and why would anyone want to plug their car in if you could just drive over some shit and it charges your car?
right. It's common sense. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. IDEX for the win, bro. Like I said, I'm holding everything till I see some not big zeros, big hundreds plus hundreds in those greens, and we just gonna keep it moving, man. So I'm excited. Looking forward to another good week. Hoping some of this little, it's a few little stragglers still hemorrhaging a little bit. Hopefully they'll recover this week, and I'll be back in the game.
Nice, man. And let's we'll figure out a way to sell Elon. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
we need to
Elon
write him
fund
up a
it.
pitch. Write him up a pitch and send him something. We might have to send him a manila envelope with a handwritten letter in it. That might get his attention.
We'll see. I think we or or get us on a list. This is some
Yeah.
kind of watch list.
Yeah. Either way, all we need is to sit down. If he hears what we got to say, he'll buy in for sure.
It'll get to the press as some people call it the dangerous gentleman, just threatened to extort Elon Musk. So
Hey, I'm down.
hey, the headline exposure might be worth it.
Hey, we can spin it. We can spin it. I'm pretty sure we can spin it.
So what did you guys mean by that? I'm glad that you asked, woman from Mars. Please allow me to tell you.
I'm
Could you
glad
put
you
your
asked, Martian.
could you put your 700 on a leash? I'm allergic, please, while we conduct this interview, please.
Yeah, dude.
Please don't mouth kiss it in my presence, and I'll tell you the plan. And I think you're gonna like how it ends up because you get back home. Listen.
Hey, all hail Yakub.
It's
Oh,
literally the most offensive content on the internet.
yeah, and I love it.
Awesome. All right, my brother. It's been a pleasure, man, as always.
Absolutely, man. I'll check you out soon, bro.
Enjoy your weekend. Peace.
Bless.